Welcome, everyone. Sorry if I came in hot. Let's try that again. Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of The Testing Room, where three of the gaming industry's best video game consultants who have never actually consulted on a video game bring you new topics each and every week. I'm Alex, a.k.a. the Godfather.
Christian, a.k.a. Pseudo45.
I'm Preston, a.k.a. Funkadelic Jedi.
And this has been NPR.
I was about to say, are you going to keep the whisper voice for the rest of this?
There's no way. No, there is no way, because I'm too excited. We have a good episode coming at you. It's been a while since we recorded together. We had a lot in the bank, which made it kind of nice for the break. But we're back today with our personal top 10 video games of the year before we dive into the Testing Room's top 10 games of the year with the testies tied into it. But today is our personal top 10, and I'm excited to see what you all have to say. Because we played a lot of good games. Like, I have to say, this year is the first year, I think, where, I had more than just, 10 or 11 games where I go, okay, this decision's pretty easy, I just have to order them. This year I actually had to, kick crap off.
Yeah.
Right? Which made it really tough.
Hard
So,
cuts.
yeah. Anyway, before we get into that, though, Preston, do we have anything in the corner?
No, we did have one little comment from Mr. Christian about 2 weeks ago, so that would be within the time frame. It was from our reaction stream to the VGAs.
Oh, yes.
Essentially clarifying, actually says, point of clarification, all those Sega games are not mobile. They were just set after the little ads, so consider me hyped. So that's what I was trying to tell you. They said mobile beforehand, but Jeff himself didn't say mobile after they played that trailer. So I'm
Yeah.
all right, there's some hope there. So
I looked for the Sega's announcement, and they're like, no, they're just coming. So they're not mobile games. They are actual video games. I'm very hyped for all of them. Obviously, Preston and I have been very vocal about our Jet Set Radio fandom. Mm-hmm. Having a new Jet Set Radio game is great. I will say that the only thing that could deflate my hype for that specific game is if Naganuma isn't on the soundtrack, which I don't know why they wouldn't do that. But
has he said anything?
I haven't looked. I don't have Twitter anymore, so I don't check his social media. But, I mean, yeah, hopefully they get him. If they don't get him, then, hey, you know what? We got Bomber Cyberpunk, and that's all that matters.
So they're for sure not mobile games, or is it possible both, console mobile? On both of those?
I guess they could. They didn't, but they are going to be on PC, PS5, and Xbox One or Series X. So if they're on those three, then I would doubt that they would be on mobile. But who knows? I don't know.
Okay, because it's just in general, if things are made for both console and mobile, you tend to lack a little bit. Because we've talked about this before, least common denominator. Yeah. So hopefully this is straight console launches and. Also, by the way, we also have a team of people working on Sega games coming to mobile, but if that's the case, you really should have been clearer with that
Yeah, I don't know.
And
it seems crazy to me, but, that's...
as long as they stay away from trying to make them all live service games, it should be fine.
Yeah.
That's what's going to get you. Buy songs and Crazy Taxi.
That being said, dude, that's the thing is...
You shut your mouth. Do not wish that juju into reality.
I am worried. Yes, I am worried what modern AAA game design looks like for a Crazy Taxi in a Jet Set Radio game.
With the credits.
You know what I mean? It could be something wild, but who knows?
Okay. All right. Well, that's all we have for the corner. So what?
We have a sponsor for this episode.
Do we have a sponsor?
Oh, yeah.
We do.
Do we now?
I don't know this.
It's Two Worlds Podcast.
Okay.
And you go to the youtube.com/Two Worlds Podcast 3763 and you type a comment on any one of their episodes saying that the testing room sent you there, and Jake will send you a little kissing emoji. He'll do that.
Okay.
Yeah, so there you go. That's also, by the way, this is totally improv. This is not
emoji?
Real. I just said this. I'm not.
Okay. I'm Jake do this behind our back? We don't know about this?
I was gonna say. First of all, is it an emoji or is it actually like a GIF of him, like mwah? Because if that was the case, like I
hope it's a GIF of him doing it, but it'll probably just be. I don't know. If it happens, it happens. Either way, I signed him up to do something that he'll only find out about a week later. So,
wonder why he's got all these comments.
Yeah.
That we cannot force him to do any of that. But if none of us do it, then maybe he will. We before we get to our weeks, we played a little bit of Halo today, and I think I'm starting to win Jake over on the Husky raid because like he gets so frustrated. We all get so frustrated with Super Fiesta, and Husky raid is just Fiesta, but like there's nowhere to run and hide because it's just a hallway, right?
Yeah,
and
they're Forge
I think
maps.
Yeah, and he shared with you guys the other day. We played a game. He had 60 kills. I play Husky raid all the time. I've never seen anybody get higher than 45, right?
Yeah.
And this guy comes in and gets like 60 kills in that game. Yep. We still lost, by the way. And we lost the game. We lost the game today because our fourth player decided to quit, and he immediately just like reported the kid, which was hilarious to me.
Hey,
but we also had some clutch
always
wins.
Report people who quit. You always report people who quit.
See
his
something,
dad
say something.
Came in clutch at the end, helped us capture the flag for one of our wins. It's a good time. So if you guys have any time this week, I know you're back to work and stuff, but if anybody has time, hop on with us, play some games.
You guys just let us know. Preston totally could have hopped on today. He was just hanging out.
Just chilling.
He came over and got a Christmas present for me.
He did.
Yeah.
I would show it to you, but it's plugged into a USB that's not long enough yet. So it's a VHS tape that has the Ghostbusters video game logo, and it glows green. And it does. You can do all
and
sorts of
slime coming out of
different colors with it. Not colors, but patterns. Yeah, it's fancy.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Well, let's get into our weeks. Let's get this thing started because we got a lot to go through today.
We do.
So who wants to kick things off?
I can do it.
Go
ahead.
So first things first, I'll just talk about something that we all did. We played some Monster Hunter over the break.
Did.
Yep.
We did.
At one time.
It was I've been open. I played a couple more times after that, but just cleaning up.
Were you more successful than we were?
You didn't do too bad. We just lost the first one.
Good. Yeah, but I just went and did a bunch of the side missions and stuff and went through. It's wild how many people are still playing that game. Number one,
that's why
it takes me like no time to find people on a quest. I'm like, nobody should be playing this. Like,
does it have crossplay with PC? Do you know?
No, it does not.
No, no crossplay, no cross save. It's wild. People
it's
still play
infuriating.
Monster Hunter World.
Yeah. Well, no, Monster Hunter World doesn't have it either.
No, I was just saying people still play that game too.
Yes,
and it's even older. Like it blows my mind.
I saw somebody posting on the Monster Hunter subreddit the other day that was like looking for a group to do like Fatalis or whatever, and I was like, wild. That is wild that you're doing that. But yeah. Still a good game.
I know when we talked about it, you said, you're like, man, I wish there was cross save because I would buy this on like Steam or on PC. And I know you said that, and I was like, I know it's stupid. And still, when I was going through the Steam Winter Sale, that game came up and was like, hey, you want to buy this on Steam Deck? And I was like, I do, but let me just Google this. And I just Googled it just because I'm a psychopath. And I was like, is there any way to trick this game into letting? They're like, no. And Capcom has they've said no plans on bringing crossplay or cross save.
I have no plans on buying your game twice.
Now I guarantee you though, Wilds, the next one, because so many people bitched about it for World, and so many people and Capcom has already started doing crossplay for Street Fighter and everything else. I'm positive this next one will have it. They will do crossplay.
That's good because I'm not buying the next one on Switch. Even though Switch did amazing things on this game, right, on Rise, but still, like, I'm not buying that game.
No, I'm buying on Steam. I don't even know if Wilds is going to come to Switch. Let's be real.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
World didn't. So
Switch 2. Wait for that one.
Yeah. But yeah, so we played that. That was really fun. Still a great game. Not much more to talk about. It was just fun. We went and tried to do. We ran through some of the new variant monsters that we had left, and then we went and tried to do the what is the Sunbreak version of like the last boss kind of thing, like the DLC last boss they
Elder
added in
something?
afterwards.
Yeah, Elder Monster.
I don't even remember what the name was, but yeah, whatever the dragon's name was, that was cool as hell. I went after that fight a couple more times. It gets wild, like just in the same way that the last boss of Rise did, where you're sitting on like floating like miniguns and shit. The same kind of thing can happen here, except it does a whole different thing. It's very, very cool. It's awesome. Rise is a great, Monster Hunter is a great franchise.
Did you get a chance to beat it?
I did. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So not that we won't do it again. I mean, we'll obviously still run through it, but yeah, I was like, whenever we get back on, we'll do it. But yeah, I caught the bug bad, and I just wanted to keep playing Monster Hunter. So, so then the next thing I did is I finally got around to trying Aperture Desk Job. Okay. So I don't know, now that we are a Steam Deck podcast now. That's the game that comes baked in on your Steam Deck. Like as soon as you just have a Steam Deck, it is free to. I think it's just free in general, but it comes. You can get it on there. It's about
you can get it on there. It does not come on it.
No, but it's like it'll when you boot on your Steam Deck for the first time, Valve shows it to you like in the store. Like, hey, this is great on deck if you want to install it. And it goes over all the different features. It is it's the same thing as, like any pack-in game for a new console. It's like, look at all the features, right?
The Playroom test on Astro's Playroom on PlayStation.
Right, exactly. Yeah. It's so press like for the second time.
Yes.
Thanks, Brenton.
It's okay.
Yeah. Way to be there.
Yeah. So, but yes, just like that, Preston. It is just like that. And so, but it's obviously the Steam Deck version of it, so it handles the microphone portion, the back paddles, the touch, the mouse wheels, all of it, right? It's about 45 minutes long. It basically is, there's not much to spoil about it. Like I said, it's just like that. The really coolest thing that I found out about it was, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the comedian Nate Bargatze or something like that, or Nathan Bargatze or something like that.
Doesn't he have like Nate for You or something like that show?
I don't know if maybe
is that him.
I don't know. I don't know if he's a TV show. I just know he's had a couple Netflix specials. Alexa and I have seen them. They're really fucking funny. He's super, super funny. But as soon as he has like this really dry sort of delivery on things that just cracks me. It's sort of a similar delivery as if you guys remember. It's not. The jokes are different in tone, but the delivery is still the same. It's like Mitch Hedberg. You know what I mean? Like that kind of just very like matter of fact delivery that it's like fucking so funny. To me anyway. So he is the voice of like the main robot in Aperture Labs that like goes through some of the things, and he's totally doing his shtick like as that robot.
They hired him to be him. Yeah.
Dude, it's so fucking fun. But I was playing through it the other night, and I was like, I didn't have that much time, and I was like, let me boot up something, and I was like, oh, I know that this is supposed to be like really short, so let me check it out, and it was totally worth it. I was like, God, dude, this is fucking hilarious. Like within the first couple seconds, I was like, is that him? And I like paused it and looked it up, and I was like, this is definitely him. And so even Alexa, because we find the dude so funny, we literally paused what we were watching on TV and just like sat huddled around the Steam Deck while I was playing through the rest of it so that we could like hear all the bits and stuff. So it was really fucking fun. But I recommend it. Like I said, it's literally 30 to 45 minutes. So it's ultra short and it's free on your Steam Deck. So just download it and play it. It's really fun.
Okay.
The next thing I played and I finished was a game called Mind Scanners. So, you guys are, I don't know, they're not made by the same people, but they're very similar in basically everything about them. Did you guys ever see or play Papers, Please at all?
I've heard.
No, I know what. I've heard you talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, so Papers, Please is like this game. It's, you're just basically like somebody who's examining like immigration papers, and you're just like deciding who to let into the country and who to not, and then, narrative things happen from there. So Mind Scanners is very similar in that, but it was a game that I got as a pack-in game through like a Humble Bundle, right? So I was like, well, what better time than now to check it out when, it's the end of the year, and I've already made peace with the games that I have played and the games that I am not going to play. So let's just start knocking out some more backlog stuff. So with Mind Scanners, you're like, you're basically, it's like this like super post sort of cyberpunk kind of world, like post-capitalism, like just like, you know, like mono fucking ruler of like some crazy like 5 or 6 corporations that basically just own the whole place and blah blah, and everything is like just this one single sort of umbrella identity that you are working for, that owns everything, and that basically everybody works for in some sort of manner. But to work, your daughter is taken by this organization as like a special individual to be taken care of and run tests on and figure out things. And they basically are like, don't worry, the company has everything in your best interest. Just believe us and, you know, keep doing your thing and your daughter will be just fine. And then you sign up to make money. You sign up for their Mind Scanner program, which is you basically can go through and you get tipped off by the company of people who need their brain scanned to figure out what's wrong with them and then correct any sort of either personality disorders or diseases of any kind, like whatever it is, right? And you can do so one of 2 ways. You can either scan them and try to do things to protect their keep their personality intact while you try to cure them, or you can, sometimes what the company will tell you to do, which is just be like, who gives a shit? Just clear them and move on. Like, if it erases their personality, then the fuck do you care? You get paid either way. And you're like, well, that's crazy. And, you know, some people might reach out to you separately and be like, you should not listen to them. Like, do your job, but, like, don't do that for reasons that we will tell you later. And you're like, okay, or not, whatever you want to do. And I won't spoil it from there, but, you know, various narrative things ensue, just like Papers, Please does, and you go from there. So, not too much from the narrative side, not too much to say otherwise. Mechanically, it's a lot deeper than Papers, Please, I think, because, like I said, because they have all the, like, they have like, I think it's like 12 different little things that you can end up purchasing to make your job easier, to help you clear people's illnesses or whatever, like, easier. And all of them are in the forms of mini games that you basically will do to try to get them to do, like, you'll be working devices some way. Most of them are good. The wrinkle becomes that the more you use the device, like your Mind Scanner, the more it starts to either quote unquote like break down or like have glitches or things like that. So for instance, an example of one that I think doesn't, most of them work. Like, I think most of them are good. And then when they add the wrinkle of like, oh, hey, this is what happened. Like, this is what it looks like now that the device is starting to wear down. Like, you've used it too much in one day kind of thing. Most of them, like, the wrinkle that gets added to them, you're like, oh, okay, I can see why this makes it a little bit harder, but this is fine. The one that I don't like, that I thought got very irritating, and I would start skipping people who had this particular icon as far as like a mental disease, was there's a sound one. And so it's like, it'll be like one, or it'll just be 2 different variations on a beep, right? So like low beep, high beep, low beep, low beep, high beep, low beep. And then you go, okay, and then it goes, okay, now repeat that. And then you would do it. And you're like, great. And then you'll do it again, and you'll do it again, and you're like, great, this is perfect, this is working out, I'm nailing this. And then what it'll do after that is when it starts to break down, it will start to randomly shift octaves incorrectly and be like, so like low beep, and then like potentially super high beep, regular, low, high, super low. And you're like, okay, so I'm assuming that all of the high beeps might correspond to regular beeps, and then all the super low ones should just go for low, because that's what it would be intended to do. Like, because there was only 2 to begin with. There was just regular and low. So you're like, okay, well, I don't know. And then you would try to do it, and you're like, okay, well, let's try that. And then it would be like, wrong, and like shock the person. And you're like, well, what's going on? And they're like, it's basically just to tell you, like, that is either the super low or the super high is like just a fucked up, like you aren't, I don't know if you're meant to get it or if it's just like a comeback later kind of thing, or if it's just saying like this is the octave that shifted either one way or the other, so just always flip that switch, and then one that still sounds regular you can keep. I don't know. Sometimes I would get it and I would be like, okay, I think I understand it, and then it would fuck up later and I'm like, I don't know. So that one was super frustrating. And the in-game sort of tutorial, the game does not tell you that it starts to break down these other devices, and so when it happens, you're like, is something wrong with my game? And then you start to just see the pattern like everywhere, and you're like, okay, I guess this is what's happening, but I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for on some of these. So a lot of it is like experimenting, and then you just either you get it right and you're lucky, or you don't and you shock the person and they take personality and stress damage, and you're like, and if they get too stressed, they tell you to fuck off and they run and leave, and if they lose their personality, then they become, like lifeless husks, and the people in their lives will send you messages to tell you what a piece of shit you are for basically lobotomizing their friend, which, fair. So, not saying those people weren't warranted, but either way. It's really cool. It's about 6 hours long. I got it in like 2 sessions. I think I finished it right before I was helping you with your PC, Alex, when you were going through and building it. So it was like, it was really, really cool. I enjoyed it. But I don't know what it is normally. Like I said, I got it as a packet game for a Humble Bundle. So,
yeah,
I can't say it. I would say it's totally worth checking out if you were into Papers, Please, or things like that. But probably just play Papers, Please if you had a choice between the two. But if you played Papers, Please and you liked it and you were looking for that itch, this will deliver on it in a somewhat lesser way.
It's currently $6.80, but it's 60% off. Normally it's $17, so it's actually not a bad deal.
I would not say worth it $17. I would say worth it at $10, and definitely worth it at $6. So there you
Nice.
go. And then so speaking of the Steam sale, I got some Steam gift cards, picked up some things. But one of those things that I picked up, and I apologize because this name is ridiculously long. Exclamation point. You want those games, right? So here you go. Now let's see you clear them. This is a game that I'm so happy that it is made, and these developers are heroes. So you guys know all of the shitty mobile games that you see ads for on Instagram sometimes, where it's like,
the
like
waves are coming at you. You're building up your shots, and
or like more specifically, like the car one where it's like a parking lot full of cars and they can only go forward or backwards depending on which way they're
pins
in.
out, and the lava comes down the gold.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So somebody decided. Some hero, and sometimes you're sitting there and you're scrolling and you're looking through those games, and I will say, as devious as it is, the marketing is brilliant on some of these because they will purposely play them wrong in the ad.
Yeah.
So you're like, I could do that, and
so
I
you're
hate
like,
you.
I hate you because I know that I could do this in 5 seconds, and it's pissing me off that I'm seeing you do it wrong. So these heroes decided, and also another point of clarity here is that a lot of those developers are known for just shitting these out, putting horrible ads in them, or putting, they rip from other games, or they rip from other assets and just rip them in, and they don't care because they're scumbags, and that's the mobile app stores allow that kind of thing. So some hero decided, well, what if I just stole their games and put them into...
Which is fair because they don't... Yeah, they just steal other people's stuff too.
Yeah, so
it's totally
they go, what
fair
if I
game.
just stole them and then put them in a safe place on Steam and made it so that all of the garbage is taken out so that it's just you playing the game. Like, there's no ads. There's no, like, shitty fuck-up mechanic that will try to kick you back. It's literally just, hey, do you want to do it? I've done it for you. Here it is. And so there's like 5 or 6 of these little mini games that are in this collection, and they all have like a bunch of different stages. It's fantastic. It is awesome. It's
like a good deck game.
Dude, yes. Not only is it a great Steam Deck game, but it is just a great, like, if you're sitting there and you're just like, I have time to kill and I want to do something. Like I was on a call today, literally just booted it up while I was sitting on the end, just was clicking around and doing the thing because it's mindless. You can just do it, and that's what it's meant to be. It's fucking fantastic. I love it. It's great. It's a game that's made directly for me and somebody who has the same level of brain rot that I have when I'm like scrolling through something and being like, oh, I'm not gonna do it, but I'm gonna be thinking about how badly I want to just clear this and be done, whatever. So either way, fantastic. Last game I played was FTL. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with FTL or that. So FTL was the first game from the Into the Breach folks. I loved Into the Breach, obviously, as I came on and said. And so I decided to check out FTL because I've had it on my Steam library since probably, I don't know, for a long time.
2014, 15?
Probably,
yeah,
yes.
Because I have it. I've played a little bit of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I had never played it before.
Froze. Okay, there you go. You're good.
No, you froze, but you're back now.
Okay. Well,
Alex
something happened.
Alex and I were moving, so that's why I know it wasn't me.
Either way, continue.
But, so yeah, FTL happened. It's very, very good. It's way more difficult than Into the Breach, like by a large margin.
Yeah, it's very different.
I was not prepared I've made it to the 3rd cluster of systems so far. Or like I've made it to like 8 or 9 like jumps like to different planets or different systems. But there's like a total like 15 before you get to the final place, like your destination. I still have not made it to the end. It's really fucking hard, but it's super satisfying and really fun. Yeah, that's it. And then the last thing that I have to update on is that unfortunately I have shelved Bravely Default 2. It joins Disco Elysium as 2 games that I was playing when bad things were happening, and so now my brain just can't get back into it for whatever reason.
Major life events.
Yeah, and so
happens.
Which sucks because it's fucking fantastic. But the nice thing about Bravely Default 2 is that just like when I say classic, I mean very classic JRPGs, because that's definitely what it's going for, like like Final Fantasy Tactics kind of thing. The story is like very simple that it has zero issue catching you back up. Like the journal is super detailed and it's great. Even just in between play sessions, it's great. So if and when I decide to come back to it, it'd be very easy to pick it back up. So I've got that. And then the thing that I'm playing currently, I have decided to go back, and I'm just gonna play through it and be ready for whatever stupid thing happens. But I'm playing through Final Fantasy VII Remake right now on Steam. So heads up to anybody who owns a Steam Deck and is thinking about getting this game. It runs better than flawlessly on the Steam Deck.
I may or may not have picked up that and Crisis Core on the Steam Winter Sale. So
I think Crisis Core sort of woke something up in me, and I don't know exactly how to feel about that one way or the other. But after playing through Crisis Core, I was like, God damn it, dude! Like I just gotta.
But they do play well.
Yeah, the gameplay is very good, right? Regardless of anything else, not as good as 16 in my opinion. But what are you gonna do? But it's still very good. So I guess I'm in. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, either way, the crazy thing that I want to talk about is how fucking good it is on the Steam Deck. So that game on the Steam Deck runs locked 30 with max settings on. So like like lock 30 with max. And then the craziest part about it is that because you can set the refresh rate on the screen to down to 30, it feels like a 60 FPS game. Like I do not know how to describe it without somebody looking at it, but it is mind-bending. Like
Black Magic.
Yes. Like the Steam Deck already does that all the time with me sometimes. Like, you know, it runs Baldur's Gate 3, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like in and of itself. But like the fact that I'm running the Final Fantasy VII Remake at max settings is wild to me. Like I don't know. Either way, that's my week. That's what I've been up to. So
Okay.
Nice. I'll go quick. So I'll tack on. I may have picked up those 2 games on Steam sale because I'm hoping this next year will be a little bit lighter and I'll have time to play those games before the next one comes out. I don't think
we'll be that lucky, but we'll see.
That's the goal. I also picked up. I don't know if Christian, you're gonna be happy about this or you're gonna kill me. I picked up an aspirational game. And what I mean by that, it's kind of like when you buy an aspirational piece of clothing, right? Like I'm working out and I want to fit into that shirt, so I'll buy it like the size that I want to get there, right? So I bought a game saying like I want to get to that game, so it'll force me to play the game before it to get there. So I picked up Trails in the Sky 3 in the hopes that it'll force me to go play 2.
Oh, okay,
so
yeah,
then so that I can get to 3 because it was also on sale on Steam. So
the whole franchise is on sale on Steam right now.
Yeah, I can't afford 14 games, right? Because
Yeah.
they're not that much on sale. They're not like $7 on sale. They're like $20 off,
Yeah.
you know, but they're still $20. But I picked up 3, so I was like, oh, I'll play 2 and get to 3 anyway. They finish off that arc. So I bought that aspirational game. Other than that,
I did not know where you were going with that at first, but yes, I support that. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, I've been playing. I've only been playing a few games. I've been playing Halo. Got some matches in with Jake today.
Lots of Mass
his
Effect
dad.
I've been seeing.
I played some Halo with Jake the other day as well. Yeah. So to Christian, to your point, like. It's to the end of the year, and we know we have this conversation and stuff coming up, and like I just don't want to dive into anything. I didn't want to dive into anything too heavy, so it's like I want to go back, play something easy, play something I know, play something I enjoy playing. And I'm on Mass Effect 2 of my Insanity run, and I'm almost at the end of it. So I platinumed 100% it. I got all the trophies for completing the first game on Insanity. I'm on my way to doing that on the second game on Insanity. I got everybody, all my companions except for the last one, Legion, which is not a spoiler because like the holy shit, that game's been out for 15 years.
Yeah.
But I haven't.
We're spoiling games
so
on this podcast today, by the way, anyway, so just heads up.
That's fair. That's fair. So I have one companion to get, but that's like the next to last thing you do. And that'll be it. Honestly, like there's a couple things I thought I would have to come back and get later because you have to beat the game on Insanity without changing the difficulty. So I was like, there's this part in the middle where you go to Tachanka, which is where Grunt is, and he's just one of the companions. You have to beat this Thresher Maw, and you don't actually have to beat it to succeed the mission. You just have to survive for 4 minutes. And I was like, cool, I'll just survive, and I'll make a save point here, come back when I'm done with my Insanity run, turn the difficulty down, and do it. I actually beat it with 6 seconds left. And I was like, sweet. So that's what I've been doing. Christian's right. He's been seeing a ton of Mass Effect.
Popping up there.
Just because it's...
Yeah,
it's fun. It's mindless. It's great because Allie is off. So, like, we can be downstairs together, and I can still engage with her. We can watch a movie. We can chit-chat, and I don't have to, like, focus too much on this game, right? So, I'm hoping to have that game beat the next day or so, and then I'll move on to 3 and keep going. So it's just been Halo and that, and there's been one other game because, like I said, my intent was not to get into anything
really quick.
New. Mm-hmm.
I'm very interested to see how you feel about 3 as you revisit it, because that is where I started to get angry at EA and BioWare, was especially because the Legendary, for those who don't know, the version that Alex is playing is the Legendary Edition that came out a few years ago that packs every bit of DLC.
Last year?
Yeah,
Right? It was like recent.
No, it was before. It was during COVID times, homie. It was
So 20, maybe 2021.
Yeah.
2021.
But they packed every bit of DLC in the game that has ever been released for it. Obviously, outside of
Except for one.
multiplayer. Yeah. So, but so 1 through 2 obviously flows, in my opinion, flows fantastically, and the DLC just goes along with all of those things. Man, 3 is something else. Like, the way they do some of the DLC, and especially, we'll talk about it when you get there, because I think I bitched about it then, but I don't know, we weren't doing it.
We didn't do, so keep in mind, that's why I'm excited to get to 3 and see your complaints, because when the Legendary Edition came out in 2021, I did 1 and 2, but I did not do 3 because something else came out and I jumped, so I will be hitting 3 on the Legendary Edition for the first time.
Man, yeah, I'll be very interested to see how you feel about it when you get there.
I almost accidentally got into a relationship with Miranda just because, like,
Ew.
I was going through stuff and just not paying attention. I hadn't gotten Tali yet, and like I had picked a thing with Miranda because I was just clicking through, and she is like, "How do you feel about me?" And I was like, "I feel like I need to go get Tali, my companion, because I'm not about to do this." And like, you do have to 100% it. You do have to enter a relationship with somebody. So I went and got my ride or die. We're going through that one, but yeah, it's good. I'm about to be that. So what I was gonna say.
Darth
when
Vader
Christian came
fetish
back
that
here.
I never knew you had.
Tali's the one and only.
Right there.
There. So
my
shout out to Christian. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. So what I was saying when you came back was my goal was to like play something simple and mindless. So like end of the year, I didn't want to dive into something. But that didn't quite work out. I did dive into a new game. This game did not make my personal top 10 because I did not beat it. With that being said, I will probably have beaten it by the time we do the collective testing room. So I will have opinions, and it will absolutely replace something on my list.
Mm-hmm.
And that game's Alan Wake 2. So super spooky. What's been happening is I wake up in the morning about like, I typically wake up around 6:30 in the morning, even here over the holiday. I get the dogs taken care of. I get my coffee. I go upstairs. By the time I go upstairs, it's like 7:10 in the morning. I sit down in front of my desk, and the sun is just now coming up. And I have a solid 2 hours of playtime before Allie wakes up. And while the sun is up, that I can play Alan Wake and only be moderately scared. But it's the perfect amount of time, because any longer than like 2 hours just becomes a little too much for me. It gets a little too scary. So like, it's been working out perfectly. I've been playing it in 2 hour chunks. I think they're about to force me into Saga's story, because I'm up to chapter 7 out of 9 on Alan.
Yeah.
And I'm only on
They
like
do
chapter
force
3
you
of Saga.
Right at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm only on
Yeah.
3 for her. So they're about to bump me over. But I just did the chapter, which is no spoilers, but it's called Room 665, and
The hotel. Yeah.
Jake texted me and was like, "Hey man, you play any games this morning? You want to play some Halo?" And I was like, "Yeah, I need a palate cleanser, because this game got super spooky. Not only did it get super spooky, but like, it's where some of the enemies, like, you're getting more enemies at one time, and it's gotten a little tougher." And I'm like, I for the first time I got to the point where I was actually kind of like running to a safe room versus fighting things. I'm like, nah, I don't want to do this.
Preston watched me go through the hotel, and I remember there was many texts that we exchanged during that point where I was like, I would change something that Preston would do his patented like some of the scenes that you can put up in that, he'd go, "Oh, good," like
Oh, fun.
yeah.
Yeah, so the one thing, and this, I'll quickly give it the honorable mention, and I won't talk too much about it because we'll talk more about it. Christian, I'm sure you'll talk about it, then we'll talk more about it on the top 10 of the testing room. But I told
Spoilers.
you,
We don't know what's going to make the top 10 in the testing room.
I'm sure we'll argue about it. So, I said to you, I was like, they're doing things in this game that I don't think I've ever seen, and one of the mechanics I absolutely love is how you can change the environment through your narratives, Alan.
Yep.
That's what got super spooky today, because like we've done a couple where you're like following one of the Easter egg characters. I will just put it that way. Like when you're following this guy, and then all of a sudden it's like cult, and they're like walk through this train, and I'm like, no, I don't want to see what happened to these people. But today there was a new one. Spoiler. So just close your 5 seconds if you don't want to know. But it's called Impress You Saw This the Devil, and I'm like, well, this, to your point, oh good. And as soon as I did that from the ritual to the devil and everything, like blood everywhere, I was like, no, I don't want to. I don't want to do. Mm-hmm. I don't want to do this right now.
Yep.
So, first thing in the morning, sun coming up. That is my ideal playtime. Anyway, what I was going to quickly say, because I almost lost my train of thought. I told you, Christian, there's things that they do in this game I've never seen before, like those narrative changes. Yeah. But then I got to think about it. It's just a play on what they did in Control, and they've perfected in this game. Yeah. Specifically in Control, when you're also in the hotel or in the long rooms, and you flip the light switches, and things change. That was awesome. This takes it a step up and has perfected that mechanic, and they expand on it, which has been brilliant.
My opinion on Alan Wake 2 is that it is Remedy taking everything they've learned from every video game they've ever made, and it's them at their best. Like, that's my, like, because I agree with you. There's things that they do in this that you, at first, you're like, oh no, actually, I see the baby version of this idea in Control. Like, I can see where they sprung off from this, or obviously it being a sequel to Alan Wake, there's a lot of callbacks to mechanics and things that happened in Alan Wake 1. As Preston has mentioned, he and I have talked about multiple times, Max Payne is all over this motherfucker. Mm-hmm. So it's, I mean, like I said, it's everything. Quantum Break, for those who don't know, I'll talk about that in the
Mr. Breaker.
It's all over. Everything they've done is all over this thing in some form or fashion.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing keeping me going through this game. If it was, I'll be honest, if this was just a normal survival horror, it would have been too scary for me, and I would have been like, no, I'm done. But like the cool thing with the detective, and then like you run into a janitor character, and you're like, oh, that's a callback, or you run into.
Not even a callback. Sheriff. It's just that guy.
It's just the guy. It's just him. Yeah. And you're like, wait, how are you here but also there? When that game took place years ago, right? And like I want to learn that. And then there's a sheriff, and he's like, I keep seeing this woman with red hair, and the Federal Bureau of Control plays a part.
Because I know you never played it. The sheriff, that actor is also the same actor who was the main character of Quantum Break.
Yes, I never played Quantum Break, but now that you say that, I can see him on the box, and I know who that actor is in real life.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and there's actually, not only is he saying something about, the red-haired woman and blah, 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 right? But there's a moment where you can talk to him very early on that you've already seen, and he says something to the effect of, like, I've always had very vivid dreams in which I am somebody else, and he goes, and sometimes I will have lived like full lives in these dreams, and blah blah. And when he starts to describe it, it's like you're just like, oh, you're just talking about Quantum Break, like that's what you're talking about. Okay, cool. Like
so that's the only thing. Like the greater universe mystery is the only thing keeping me go through this game. Because if this was a standalone survival horror, I'd be like, too much for me. Good, but too scary for me. But the rest of it, because I have experience in the rest of the universe, it's been great. And there's been stuff that's happened with like the music level was absolutely incredible. Just
so you saw the Game Awards inside Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, and like the way they do it on set, when I turned around a couple times, and it was literally just like people, like shadows were like sliding these like big boards and set pieces on and off. It was incredible.
That's why you can see now that when we were watching it, Preston and I were going like, dude, this is a massive spoiler. Like,
but you would never know until you got to that point.
But you wouldn't know until you got to that point. But there is like, for people who are in the know, you're like, oh my god, you are just showing like.
To be fair, the loading screens for like every chapter that you go through is kind of a spoiler if once you figure out what that meant. But like
some of the lyrics,
you don't know until you know, kind of thing.
Yeah. But you're right. Like that song, because I saw that part, or I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw you doing part of that one. But like, the volume was down. But you're right, like the lyrics are literally just telling you what's going on in the story, just like straight up what you're doing.
What Preston's talking about is the lyrics in the interlude chapters, like the musical numbers in the chapters.
Songs.
I think, yeah, all those lyrics have something to do with what's going on in the story. You just don't know until you do it, and then you're like, oh fuck, this song was telling me like there was direct call. It's wild. Yeah, it's great though.
And then there's been one other little thing with like the host of the talk show in that game. His name, I was running through the tower that I have to go to where my apartment is, and I saw something, and I go, wait a minute, this name and this thing that I'm staring at in front of me, like this picture, this symbol, whatever, like something going on here, like between this name and where I need to get. So like little mysteries I put together I really enjoyed. Does not mean I'm going to dive into other games in survival horror genre, but this one I've really enjoyed.
Considering so again, you abandoned Resident Evil 2 remake very hard.
Oh, within what, 20 minutes?
It was one play session. You made it to the police station, but then you were like, that's it, I'm done.
Yeah. Did I make it to the police station? I remember because we were at the gas station in the beginning, and you're like, go in there.
And I was wanted to quit there, but you made it to the police station where the dude gets chopped in half by the door, and you're like, you have to pull him out, and it's like, you're like, oh, no. Yeah, you hated that. Yeah.
Christian's like, you go in the police station. I was like, what's down the road? He's like, nothing. I was like, I'm going to see. And I just walked down the road until I hit the invisible wall. It's like, gross. So anyway, that'll be beat before we get to the Game Awards. Or I'm sorry, our collective top 10, hopefully. Because I'm at least 50% of the way through. If there's 18 chapters, I've done 3 of hers and 7 of his. I'm a little bit more number-wise than halfway. So anyway, that's that. Mass Effect, Halo, and Alan Wake. Alan Wake is incredible on this computer. So there's that. Preston, what was your week like?
All right, so the usual, do some snapping. You know, the holidays are around. I mean, you don't have the deck around. You got 5 minutes to play. You got 5 minutes to snap, son. So I've been playing some more Snap.
You didn't bring the deck with you to the holidays.
I did bring the deck with me, but if you only got 5 minutes, you don't want to turn on the deck and then.
That's fair. That's fair.
So
I feel like you can play with your deck for 5 minutes. It's fine.
Oh, I can play with my deck for as many minutes as I want.
Get a quick sesh. Get a quick session.
Yeah. But no, I played a little bit of that. I was very good. I've been very good about it. The holidays are happening. They had all these sales and all these kind of things for currency. I'm like, no. We said we were only going to do season passes, and that's going to be it from now on. That's all we're doing. So Preston's been good. Been holding back. But yeah, bunch of
yeah,
100%. I could pay $10 and it gives me a bunch of gold, and Core gives coal instead of rocks because it's holidays. So like I could, like, no, don't do it. You don't want to do it. So I didn't do it. Didn't want to be prudent. So we let it be.
Proud of you.
And snap. They have more changes in the OTA, and that messed some things up and went through the meta a little bit differently. So it's nice to see them kind of continue on with that one. But yeah, we're going to get back into it. January's happening. They'll be back from a vacation, so we'll see what they do with the bigger patch. Did a little bit of dabbling, and then got into one new game and been sticking with another one, and I have a movie I watched. So, real quick dabble, Hellboy, Web of Wyrd, W-Y-R-D, Word.
That's the one that looks like a comic, yeah? Like they did like the classic comic art?
Wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It ended up being like a rogue-like. So it's kind of like a Hades thing to where like it's third person though, and it's trying to do like action combat, but it's slow, it's sluggish, it's not very responsive, doesn't feel good when I hit with my big old fist. So I'm like, it's kind of lame. And then you finish that room off, and it's like, do you want the other room with the health, or do you want the room with the experience? And I'm like, I'm not doing this. I am not doing this over and over again. This does not feel good enough to repeat.
That sounds miserable. Oh my god.
Immediately shelved that one. So that one's been abandoned, as Christian said. I've abandoned that one for sure. So that one went away. That's a little disappointing, but it looked cool. It just wasn't not for me. Not for me.
Yeah.
This year, man. This year is the roguelike and the Souls-like year where like I get it. There might be some good stuff.
It's been like the past 2 or 3 years.
But like along with the devs, like I also just need a break from those games. That's why like I couldn't really get into Life of P or some other stuff. Like I can't.
Do I want another one of those?
Dedicate that much.
Yeah. Been playing a lot more of Baldur's Gate 3. I'm almost at the end of Act 1. I just been doing little bits and pieces here and there. I've gotten rafters are your best friend if you want to take down that goblin camp. Because let me tell you,
Yes, they are.
dudes, I went all the way to the back and like not having to fight anybody because I was friendly. I'm like, this is weird. I'm like, it's got to be a different way. I'm like, nope, you have to take them all out, the leaders, if you want to help out the other camp. I'm like, fine. So I get in there. I take out the first person, which, she takes you to the back to help you with your worm thing. And I was a half elf, so I couldn't get knocked out to go in the basement. So I take the potion, and she's like, fuck you, I'll kill you and rip you to shreds. But apparently, if you're not a half elf, you take the potion, you get knocked out, you go downstairs with her troll, and there's a whole scenario down there, and you meet somebody who I never got to meet yet, because she comes in there and helps you.
Yeah, Halson.
So I had that whole skipped because I couldn't get knocked out by her.
Yeah.
So I continued on through the rest of the place. Okay,
I did that section different end anyway, but yes, yeah.
In the end, went back to her, told her to come back there, and I tried different variations of it. In the end, we all just stood around her at one point and just said, okay, everyone gets a shot. Yep. Before she calls for help, everyone gets one shot. So we did it. We got her down. I went to the other section because no one knows that you're bad yet. And then I went hid in the rafters, took that person down, and then that's when I had to clear everybody out. But rafters, big pro tip.
That will carry you through many areas in the game. And if you're like me, I'll just stand in the rafters and then place like Karlach and Lae'zel towards
where the ladder is
at. So people come up and they just knock them back down.
Off.
Nope.
Yep. Every time.
So I had so that guy that you're talking about, the rafters dude, I don't remember what his name is, but
second
Glug
leader,
or whatever his fucking name is.
Glug.
So when he's giving his speech, there's actually an opening right behind him, like right to the back right corner where there's like a pit. I shoved him right in it. I was like, get fucked. And I just shoved him right in it from there. And no, I shoved multiple people, to be fair.
I think Christian's go-to mechanic was pushing people down holes.
Try that first, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I shoved him and I shoved the hag. I did it to... it got so many that I can't even... Yeah, I literally... If I had an opportunity... If I saw an opening... I was like, you know where you're going, right? You're going down there.
I got a shot
because I'm not. My character was such a beefcake that there's just nothing. Like I would never fail that roll. Like I would just be like, it would be like athletics check, and then it'd be like 95%. I'm like, I'm gonna send you flying. Like you're about to go. So yeah, it's fantastic. But yes, that guy did that, and then. You're right though. As soon as you fight him, that whole camp goes crazy.
Well, the last thing I did for that area was I'm like, okay, well I want to go back, so I want to go down to the Underdark area because we're doing that whole search for the item. I forgot the whole front end of that place I didn't touch. So I had to go through and take all these guys out. I did it my own way, but yeah, I did finally get it. The troll got weird, locked in like a corner, so I got to not have him just like stay in his corner.
Oh, nice. Hey, fuck
Everyone else I got at, but yeah.
We take those.
We got lucky, yes we did.
So do you want to know a really fun way of how you can deal with that whole front part of the encampment?
Sure, because I've already finished it.
It's already done. If you have any poison on you, you can have somebody turn invisible like Gale. You can have him turn invisible and dump it in their beer keg.
Oh, because they're all getting
and
wasted.
It will murder the whole camp. Like, well, actually, so you dump it in there first, and then you can go and you can be like, hey, I want to do a toast. Like, let's do a cheers. And everyone's like, well, fuck it, let's do it. And
they don't talk to me right now.
Yeah, well, now, but they would have then. Like,
yes.
It kicks off an event, but yeah, so you do a cheers, everybody drinks, and then everybody dies. Or you can be like the psychopaths that made it
the
so
whole
that
place up.
Yeah, they put like they carried every explosive barrel they could find in Act 1 and then dropped it there, shot one fireball, and then basically you get very close to crashing the game, but everybody dies.
As all the explosions happen, yeah.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, either way.
Yeah, no, game has been phenomenal. Game's been great. I'm glad I have it on the Steam Deck. It's been a wonderful time. Just like, hey, I'm gonna put an old movie up there. I'm just gonna have that going in the background. I'm just gonna start playing. Be great. I've slept with 2 people so far.
Then you must be. I mean, you can only do that with a couple of characters, right?
So Shadowheart wanted to wine and dine on the side of a cliffside. I said, bet, I'm down.
Yeah.
And then Lae'zel wanted to taste. Her literal words were, I want to taste. I'm like, you got it. We're going to do all the tastings.
Lae'zel is one of the few that doesn't get offended. Shadowheart, if you progress her, she will lock you in. Except for one opportunity, in Act 3 in Baldur's Gate, when you actually go to a brothel, if you do some stuff for 2 drow twins, then you can be invited into a foursome with those.
Yeah,
it doesn't
okay.
show anything, of course.
Well, no,
but, like,
they all
that's the
cuts to
only
black, yeah.
Right. But that's the only time Shadowheart will be okay with somebody else in.
Well, if she
Yeah.
stops being
Watch
okay,
it
she stops being
eventually.
okay with it. That's just, she can do what she wants to do, and I'm going to do what I want to do. My
All-
character's very free-spirited.
All I'm gonna say, here's all I'm gonna say. There's something that will happen that Travis will tell you about if you want. But if you, there are 2 people there that you just mentioned that are not the best of friends, and something naturally happens between them anyway. But if you are sleeping with both of them, it can turn sour in your
They
camp
make you
real
choose
quick. No.
who stays and who goes.
No.
Because I already had them go at each other's throats. Like, to where it's like...
Did you?
Yeah, one of them was got, like, I think it was Shadowheart was going to kill Azelle in the middle of the night.
Okay.
And then I wasn't sleeping with anybody at that point.
So you're lucky. So Travis was sleeping with one of them and made the wrong decision, and they did start fighting. But what happens is when they started fighting, because he messed up one of the rolls to get him to chill out.
Oh.
Everybody in your camp picks sides. So the whole camp broke out to a fight, and everyone murdered each other until like Asterion turned on Travis. Yeah. So if you're messing with both of them, like, things can go sour real quick.
I'm pretty good at choosing dialogue choices, so I went through that whole scenario with them. Like, both of you need to calm the fuck down. We're all in here for one purpose. Let's just chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, Baldur's Gate 3's been awesome. Can't wait to play more of that. I start up a new game on the Steam Deck. Almost said Switch. Pizza Tower. I've been playing Pizza Tower. It's a lot of fun.
Okay.
It's a lot of fun. Almost cracked into my top 10. Like, I was seriously considering
Really?
it, and I'm like, I just
Dude,
can't.
I've seen-
The 10 I have up here is solid. Like, it could have made. No, I couldn't have. It just. The 10.
It's
the
made
10
a
is
lot
there.
of people's list, to be fair.
It's very, very good. If you enjoy that type of game, it's like, people have been saying it's like Wario games back in the day. I haven't played one in forever. But essentially, you're going to want to go fast. And once you hit a couple seconds of going fast, you can break through barriers. And you're going through the level, finding all pizza toppings as you go through, because you're Mr. Peppino. He's running a pizza place, and he has this weird dream about this pizza face thing that looks like pizza face guy from the All That skit, if you remember that one back in the day. So he's a full pizza pie. And it's just, the animation is wild, and some of the things that you go through when you do that is just super duper fun. But it's got that speed, like that good, like Sonic's level of speed, to where you're going through fast, and like you go through, it has ramps here and there, to where you get on the wall, you have to hit the directional as soon as you get to it to kind of do like a zigzag through the platforming. And you don't necessarily need to get to the end quickly until you get to the halfway point, which is the end of the level, and then it makes you go all the way back, and it's timed. So that's when you want to start going through. And there's little clocks you can get along the way that kind of help bring your time up. And there's little hidden secret areas. So there's a whole lot of things that you could do on your way back or try to do on your way forward. But it's been great. It's been a lot of fun. Boss battles are just like old school Mario boss battles. They lock you in that one room. Their dudes are bouncing around. You're trying not to hit them until they get down. They blink, and then you want to hit them. So it's been a lot of fun. There's been one level was just like a mini golf course, side scrolling. So it's just, you're hitting the ball. You're trying to get it over obstacles on objects, and you have a a par there for the section of the level. But if an enemy hits it, it gets knocked back, and that's considered a stroke too as well. It's just, there's a lot of fun little things here and there in the game. It's a lot of fun. If you enjoy that era of games or that style of games, you'll enjoy it a lot. And the artwork is just dumb
The
fun.
animation, it reminds me of those old like 90s
90s
computer
cartoons,
games,
yeah.
like
So I
Night of the
heard that
Tentacle and,
Oh, yeah.
and all that stuff.
I heard that the taunt is actually a perfect parry for projectiles as well.
No shit, I have not tried that.
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
frame perfect, but apparently if you use the taunt at the right time, it will send
Knock
it will send the projectile back at whatever the enemy was. So, which is also
there's
fucking
not
stylish. It's very
there's not
cool.
an insane amount of projectiles. There are some, but if you're going fast enough, you'll usually get to the enemy before he can hit the projectile.
Yeah.
So if you're doing the level, like doing it the fastest way without making any mistakes of hitting a ledge or doing anything like that, you will probably get to the enemies. Because there's even like enemies who have forks, and they'll be holding it up until they start moving. They'll bring it down. So if you hit them before they bring their fork down, you're not going to get hurt.
Yeah.
But I've been loving it. It's a great, like, before I go to bed, hit up a couple levels, kind of get it cleared out, then kind of go through it. I think like a little over halfway through now. It's a very short game. I think it like how long to beat had it at like 11 for everything, and it's like 7 to get through just the main story of the game. So I'll probably have that finished by the time we do the top 10s for us all together. But unfortunately, didn't make my top 10. But good, it was good. Last game that I'll mention playing, I don't know if it's going to stick around. Might be a little too horny. I'm not sure. We'll see.
If it's too horny, if it's too horny for you,
I'm saying it.
Thank you.
Then it's probably too horny. But we're gonna see.
Wow.
The writing's been pretty funny. Eternites. If you guys heard that, Eternites. It's like a Persona game, but it's like an action hack and slash kind of combo stuff. For the actual combat as you're going through. I was running through a subway.
Do I even want to Google this?
You can, yeah.
Just
No,
to see?
it doesn't. There's like no nudity or anything like that. Like I've checked, it's still like a 17 or an older kind of game. Towards
Oh, I know. I've
seen a
not played
trailer
this,
for
but
it.
I've
It looked
seen
good.
it.
It doesn't look
Yeah,
bad,
I've
but it's
seen
made
it.
by like just a handful of people through the Unity engine. The writing in it is actually pretty funny. But yeah, it starts you off. You're hanging out with your bro. He's trying to get you to go onto a dating app, and then you get somebody who says you want to go on a date. When you're about to go on that date, the world event happens to where these walls pop up. There's some weird girl in your dreams who gives you like a sword arm. One lady chops your arm off at one point in the subway. It's just post-apocalyptic stuff happens, and then there's weird little like anime.
Can I ask you a
horniness
question?
happening with it too?
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
What is your line of too horny?
So like I was walking through my room, and there's not a whole lot of things to look at. You got your TV. It's like okay, you're talking about the news.
Sure.
And then
Sure,
on your
sure.
desk, the only thing to interact with is a tissue box. And you hit that, and it's like, at least I have you. And I'm like, okay, that's a little much. And there was a really funny joke later on in the game to where it's like, you just got your arm chopped off. Your bud's like, bro's like, hey man, hang in there, you're doing all right. I'm like, and your character, you get to choose some things. It's like, hey, remember that stash of porn that we stole from your grandpa? He's like, yeah, we stole a lot though from my grandpa. You got to be a little more specific on which ones. And it's like your choices are disgusting, anime, or like it's like old fashioned or something like that. And like whichever one you choose, they're all supposed to be disgusting. He's like, yeah, that one's really gross. It's like, but you got rid of that, right? And then your options are like, I'm weak. No, I didn't. Just silent pause, or like this other option, and you get like a different like stat boost. So you get courage for saying one of them, you get like attitude for saying another one, but it's just flavor for it, and it was a funny dialogue that went with it. It was well written. It made me giggle a little bit. It wasn't too ham-fisted, but it's just this could get a little too much into the horniness to me. But right now it's just I'm running through and we're hack and slash and stuff, but it's not bad. It's been fun. It looks good.
Speaking of game, I totally forgot this about my week, so I'll be very quickly. But speaking of games that we shut or abandoned, I had a game that I tried out that I did a Preston dabble. I was just trying to see if it was right before I got into Mind Scanners, but I was like, I'm just gonna try this out and see how. So God Eater 3 has been on my list for a really long time. I picked it up on a Steam sale for like $5. I don't know, forever ago.
Sure.
So I was like, I'll check it out. It was supposed to be like a more action-y version of Monster Hunter, is how God Eater has always been billed.
More action.
More action-y,
More
huh?
action?
Okay.
Well, sorry, not more action. More anime version of
Anime.
Monster Hunter.
Okay, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah.
That,
And
It's true.
boy, it does not live up to that at all. I was like, the combat is so not fun and sort of monotonous that I was like, what do you mean this is supposed to be like Monster Hunter?
It's not what they said, yeah.
It is not, and especially after playing Rise, where each weapon might as well be like a different game.
Type of combat, yeah.
This is not the case. It is just like, hey, heavy attack, light attack. I played through most of the tutorial. I got to like the first zone or whatever, and I just was. But also, it's incredibly fan servicey, and I was just like, well,
turn
Not
the
your
jiggle
thing.
effects to 11.
yeah, like dude. Not only it's so bad that
A lot
in
of
the
low
character
shots, low
creator.
angle shots.
In the character creator, when you spin the character around, they just like
Oh.
flop. Like it's so weird, and you're just like
They're made out of paper.
something, and so or like I don't know whatever Ditto is made out of, and you're just like I'm good
Yeah.
for me anyway. It was just not for me.
No.
But yeah,
No, it turned out it isn't super duper bad. It's a little promising because there is like if you do a perfect dodge, you get witch time, which is kind of cool.
okay.
There's some you get like ultimate meter built up. You press some buttons, you get some options for your attacks, and then it goes into like a QTE, a mashy, then another QTE to do some crazy anime sick combo. So it's not completely horrible. I'll play with it a little bit. I got through Act 1 today, and we'll see how it goes. But I also have plenty of other good games to go through. That was the next one that came through GameFly, and I'm really only waiting for Tekken on GameFly right now.
Sure.
So I have till the end of the month to fuck around with that. Which your boy did get an Elgato streaming capture card, which means that I can play Street Fighter on my stream now. And I'm going to make an announcement here. I'm going to have Street Fighter Sundays until Tekken comes out, at least. So I'm going to sit there, because I played with Christian the other day. I was just getting my shit pushed in. I didn't know how to play Cammy anymore. I'm like, fuck this. I need to remember how to play this game. So we're going to go in. We're going to do some training on it. We're going to take it through, maybe some of the ranked stuff. And we're going to do that for a couple of Sundays. So we're going to have Street Fighter Sundays for a little bit.
Nice.
Yeah, it'll be fun. The last thing, I saw a movie. I went to the St. Louis Aquarium. And then in the same fashion, I went to go see Aquaman. Aquaman 2.
Oh, they were
yeah.
showing it at the aquarium.
No, they weren't showing it at the aquarium. It was just something that my sister's like, I haven't gone to the aquarium. I'm like, let's go to St. Louis Aquarium and go see Aquaman.
That would have made that movie more entertaining.
That was a good day.
I think so.
It was a fine movie. Put it on the level of the same first Aquaman movie. If you like that first Aquaman movie, you'll like this one. If you don't like that movie, you're not going to like this one.
So
it's along the same lines.
Did you not notice a jump in quality for the James Gunn verse?
No, this is the last
Yep.
movie he let
This is
through.
James Wan.
He did not touch this one.
Oh,
he just-
but you know what I'm talking about. Thank you. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Zack Snyder came out
he
and said
didn't-
this is the last of the Snyderverse stuff. Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
They cut out all the Batfleck stuff in there, so that's kind of unfortunate. No Batfleck in the movie at all, but it's okay. It's a good movie. It's a good movie. It's a fun little summer
Is it a good
winter
movie
blockbuster.
is it a good movie or is it an okay movie?
It's an okay movie.
Because I was gonna say according to reviews
probably
and
tore it apart.
the money, it did not.
Yeah,
this is not a
no.
good movie according to that.
It's an okay movie. I'll give you that. It's not a great movie. It's an okay movie. You should know what you're going into. It's a sequel to a movie that was also okay, so you know what you're going into.
So we'll keep the format that we've always kept, which is we're going to go from 10 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to just go around, right? Somebody says 10, then I go 10, then pressing, whatever we want to do here. I did give an honorable mention to Alan Wake 2. Does anybody want to throw in an honorable mention really quick before we get into our list? I think it's only
You
fair.
go ahead, go first, Christian.
Yeah, I have one. Just one that was going to make the top 10, but one game eked it out. Alex was already privy to this. I was going back and forth with him on my conundrum that I was having between these two games. So my honorable mention is Chance of Sinar. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic game. I know sometimes it feels like, when we do top 10s, people are like, oh, these are the only 10 games that you thought were good this year. But that is just could not be farther from the truth. There were so many good games this year. Although, we would be remiss to not mention, obviously, terrible year for the industry at large.
Yes. Good year for gamers, bad year for people who
There was
make
a lot
games.
of there was a lot of good games. Bad year in general, but the games that we had were absolutely insane. And Chance of Sinar was one of them. So we talked about it multiple times. I won't get too into it. It's the the language game where you're sort of translating things on the fly, sort of language puzzle game. It is very, very cool. For me, the number 10 on my list ended up just having a little bit of a stronger narrative it was narrative versus gameplay basically in this sort of decision making process that I was doing. And the game that took my number 10 spot just had a little bit of stronger narrative than Chance of Sinar did. I liked its narrative more than I liked Chance of Sinar gameplay, which is what put it out for me. That being said, Chance of Sinar is incredible. You absolutely should go play it.
Okay.
Preston, what about you?
There's a bunch of them. I mean, obviously, we played a lot of games. I mean, hell, we all play the same one, like Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, and that's not going to make our top 10s. Great game.
Oh, yeah,
It's
that
just
didn't
not
make
going
my
to make the
list
top
either.
10, right?
It's a good game.
There is one game. You guys are expecting it to be on my list, but I'm not putting on my list out of just rules. It did not come out this year. It came out on PC this year. The game itself did not come out this year. Marvel Snap is not making my top 10.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
So I couldn't do. I kept on debating, like, well, it did come out on PC, and it was the only time I ever played it. I'm like, I really want to put it there. I'm like, you know what? No, you can't.
I'll be
It's
I
not-
think it was
with
on
you.
your last year list.
I'm gonna be
No.
honest with you, big
I
dog.
didn't play it until after top 10s.
I was convinced until this moment.
Star Wars.
No, that game
Okay.
came out last year. Like I thought you've been playing.
Me
Marvel
too.
for
Now,
that long.
it went to
I
1.0
thought that
on
too.
mobile last year.
Okay.
So it
maybe-
came out on
okay,
PC
okay.
1.0 this year.
This year. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
I thought the same. I thought for sure it was on his list last year of
No,
games that he played.
I didn't play it until like January, February this year. So I didn't start playing until the
I
very beginning of this year.
see. Okay. I don't know why. I thought you've been playing it since. I thought
It
you
came
were
out in
there since
October
the
on
beta.
mobile, and then I
Fuck,
think
okay.
maybe like right towards the end of December, maybe I started playing it, but I didn't really get hooked until like January, February. But yeah, it's
Fair enough. I from in my head I thought you've been playing it since it launched, but
so yeah. I mean, something that
Well-
came out this year, Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog, something that didn't come out, but it was probably one of the games I played the most of this year. And
easily.
yeah,
it's
I
the
mean,
game you played the most.
if I look at Steam right now, it'll probably tell me over 500 hours.
This was funny.
that's just
but my Steam our years of review came out for Steam, right? And my Steam, like 40% of my game time this year in Steam, just across all accounts, is Final Fantasy 14 demo. Because that's the
Because
way
it's
you
just running off the
sideload
bat.
it. Well, that's the way you sideload it onto the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
So it just tracks it. I've been playing the demo for like 400 hours.
Dude, I can't even just. Mine was just so many Trails games, and I was like, ooh,
Yeah, right.
It was a lot.
It's Star Wars games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, since you guys just gave your honorable mentions, I'll kick things off with number 10.
Okay.
10 will go quick. So I'm pulling it up here on GG. So 10 for me, the first game that will absolutely be knocked off if I would have finished Alan Wake sooner, was a good game in itself. So again, Christian, to your point, like, it doesn't mean these games are bad, like the best, they're just good year. This is a good game. I think this game set out to and accomplished what it set out to do. And it was one of the best world-building games that I have played in a long time. And so I'll give my number 10 spot to Hogwarts Legacy.
Okay.
The fighting and the magic use was really well done. It was really unique. It felt natural. The world was absolutely incredible. Like, you could walk around Hogwarts and it like, you felt like you were in a different place. And until I beat that game, like, it really pulled you back and made you want to play, made you want to play, made you want to play. The reason it actually falls lower on my list, and the reason it would be kicked off, even with all of its amazing pluses, is because at the end of the day, Warner Brothers made it another collectathon, which I did not actually do this year. Unlike years past, we've matured a bit, but like, I probably saw 60% of the game because 40% more of it was get 10 of these landing spots, do 10 of these races, do collect 50 of these things, and like that bloat took an otherwise like 8 out of 10 game and dropped it down a little bit. So that's my number 10 game of the year, which was Hogwarts Legacy. Good game, good world building.
Okay.
You want to go? Or you want me to go, Preston?
You can go since you went last.
There you go. Yeah, so my number 10 is Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name.
Okay.
So, you know, Alex and I already deep dived into this game a couple episodes ago, so I'll keep it brief. I think I don't know, actually. I assume it's somewhere on Alex's list. I don't know for sure, though. But RGG is just, it's impossible for them to make a bad game at this point, I think. I don't know if they're even capable of doing it. Like, they'd have to probably really try.
We'll see. One of their directors left.
Yeah.
So after this next game, we'll see.
Well, that, you know what? At least this next one we know, because that game is basically finished. So,
Yeah.
but man, like, what a story! You know, it fills in the gap, like I said, between Yakuza 6 and, you know, Yakuza 7, where they got a new protagonist. And it's basically putting a nice sort of bow on Kiryu's whole arc for 6 games. And so it's the final pass. Like 7 was sort of the passing of the torch and like, to the next sort of generation, like, or the next, protagonist and everything. Whereas I feel like this game is more of like a Last Dance style documentary for Kiryu, like as Michael Jordan. Like he gets so much love across his entire sort of career, as it would be, and it shows, and it just ties everything off. And then at the end, RTG just gut punches you emotionally for about like 30 minutes, and you're begging them to stop, and they just won't stop. And it's ultimately that ending and the story, everything narratively that they do, and it was what ended up pushing it over Chains of Sonar for me for the 10 spot. Which is to say that, the gameplay is sort of like, I don't mind the active combat, but I am fully on board with Yakuza never doing it again. I hope that it is just turn-based for the rest of time. It works so much better. I think that it just in general, combat flows better, it works better, everything is better in that mode than the typical turn-based combat. So it was kind of like it was a nice thing to go back to, because you're like, oh yeah, I remember all these moves that Kiryu can do, and you get some really wacky fucking crazy things that you can do in this game, just like you can do in other Yakuza games. But it was really like, by the end of it, you're like, I'm okay with you never doing this beat 'em up style combat again. I don't need it anymore. And they tried to. I would have much rather seen this be, and I know Alex and I said this before, but I would much rather seen this be a DLC for 7 and just like have it be nonstop story and just blast me through it, as opposed to them trying to make a full, and they do make a full game out of it, but there's a lot of things that are sort of really, really grindy, even by Yakuza standards, that thankfully you don't have to engage with all that much, but they're there, and you're just like, God, so much of this feels like filler in an anime that you're like, I don't need to be doing this. Like, I want to get to the story. And thankfully, when you do get to the story, it's 10 out of 10 incredible. It is one of the best stories they've told, and it sets up Infinite Wealth, the game that comes out in a few weeks, perfectly. So I'm very excited for that game, but it was incredible, and that got my number 10 spot.
Nice. Preston, number 10. You are on mute.
You are.
Sure am. I was need a drink of water. Didn't want to make noise. All right, so number 10, I have down for Street Fighter 6. On number 10, there's a lot of good games this year. A lot of good games doesn't mean it's a bad game just because it's on 10. The other games I played in this list, I think I enjoyed more than Street Fighter 6. I love Street Fighter 6.
Maybe I would feel that way too if I lost all the time. I'm just kidding.
Oh, big man.
Christian, as Christian looks over and sees his Street Fighter 6 in the number 4 spot.
Yeah.
You know what? I will spoil it for you. That was an incredible guess. That is absolutely great.
I love the game. The game's great. It looks great. The reason why it makes it drop down a little bit is just, while the story, I think, is a good stepping stone for what they could do with single-player stories in fighters, it is not a perfect story mode.
No.
I got stuck. There's plenty of small, just, you're doing too much of this. All the little guys that you have to go into contact with. I'm fighting refrigerators, for fuck's sake. I shouldn't have to do that in a Street Fighter game. It's funny. You do it once or twice, but you do it 15 to 20 times. I'm done with this shtick, all right? And then you throw 3 or 4 of them at me, and I'm having a hard time fighting them at all. I'm like, this is not fun.
I'm getting my ass beat by a Frigidaire, and I don't know
I was
why.
getting my ass beat by a dude with a bag over his head. He just was glowing purple, and I got stuck on him. And I just couldn't stop getting my ass kicked in by him, and that stopped me progressing the story. And I'm like, fuck this, I'm out. I was able to progress through the story just fighting Mortal Kombat 1, which did not make my list because I think Street Fighter 6 is a better overall fighting game. The way they've changed controls, the way they've brought new players into it, their battle hubs scenario is fantastic. All these fighting games like to put you in to where both of your people are having an avatar. You go to like a little console and you both sit down and play a fighting game together. This one does it the best. They got little games in the background. You all can have your dumb little costumes, and then you can fight with your dumb little costumes in the middle of that ring if you wanted to. Otherwise, me and Christian will go sit down. We'll sit down at a little arcade cabinet, and we'll go fight each other, and we'll just choose different characters and have fun with it. It's been great. Still come out with
occasionally
characters.
We'll look over at the Eldritch horrors that people created and be like, oh, look at that fucking thing.
We'll pop out to change characters, and we'll look at someone do just some god awful looking thing and just stand right next to us. But yeah, it's all the improvements they've done to that game are phenomenal. They're very, very well done. That's what kind of brought it to that, to bring it into my top 10 list. Mortal Kombat just kind of rinse and repeated the same thing they did, kind of the same reason why Spider-Man dropped off. It was a safe bet. It was a safe bet to do what they did. They didn't really think, they put cameos in there, whatever. You get an extra move, you get somebody who jumps in and does something to fuck people up. It's one thing, but it's not that big of a change.
Thank you for finally putting a rollback into Mortal Kombat, though. That is appreciated.
Yes, that was appreciated. For the little bit I played that online, that was appreciated.
Yeah.
But none of my other friends play Mortal Kombat, so I moved on and went back to Street Fighter 6, which I've had an insane amount of fun time. Even though Christian is beating my ass the entire time, like he likes to rub in.
But only for now. Once you start doing Street Fighter Sundays,
Sundays,
and you start getting...
I'm going to play with him on those Sundays, though.
Not all the time. I don't feel like getting my ass kicked all the time. I'm also trying to learn and like do other things. So I want to see where I can get ranked. I want to go into tutorials and do all sorts of other things as far as getting that going through it. Learning. I got earbuds and earbuds fell out.
All right.
But yeah, that's my top. That's my number 10. Number 10.
All right. So number 9. Number 9 for me is my my only safe bet game. Right, the other safe bet games got bumped off the list. This is one of those games that, when I say safe bet, it built on its predecessor. It had a great narrative, which is why it made the list at all, and it had amazing character group that had awesome chemistry, and the story is fun. So my number 9 game is Jedi Survivor. So Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Cal Kestis. The guy that plays Cal, he is phenomenal as that character, but also like everything they did with
the whole cast was great.
Grease, the whole cast, and what's her name that they brought back, the Night Sister. She is incredible, and their story together is fantastic.
He needs to learn how to run, but other than that, he's pretty good.
I have fallen in love with a game where the main character cannot run like a normal human, Final Fantasy X, so I let that go.
Fair enough.
I let that go.
There's quite a bit of technology difference there, but yes, I agree with you.
But I won't say too much on this. It might be on Preston's list, but I'll just say, like, narratively, I was hooked, even though... And the reason it's also not higher, and could honestly have been 10, and the first one bumped off by Alan Wake, is the fact that it's not a complete... It is a broken game.
Yeah.
It is a complete game. It is a broken game. And that was the biggest thing. Like I said, I've been able to go back to it for that reason. But the story itself was fantastic. Those cast characters were fantastic. The chemistry was awesome. So my number 9, Jedi Survivor, Christian.
My number 9, Final Fantasy 16.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Final Fantasy 16.
That's way lower than I expected.
Lower than I expect too.
Yeah. Well, again, this is not a bad game.
No.
Honestly, but this game's incredible. The only thing that kept it down this low is that I had to put myself in an objective sort of shoot and not think about in a way that, like, things that I was okay with, but are bad otherwise. The side quests in this game are god awful. Like, the MMO quest design that they have you do, while it does not bother me because I love 14, and so as soon as I was in it, I was like, oh yeah, I've done hundreds of these, easy peasy. But in general, they are a bad way to do quests in games. Like, if I'm looking at it from an outside perspective, it is a horrid way to make somebody go through quests. That being said, if you are used to an MMO and you're used to it, then it's it doesn't even, honestly, it didn't register with me until I saw somebody complain about it. And then I was like, oh, damn, that is for real. But it just never hit for me. That being said, the combat.
You had to have laughed, though. I think we all laughed about this. Like, that very first side quest you get where it's like, deliver the wood from there to here. And you think it's going to be a longer quest, and you literally just carry wood from there to here, and they're like, da-da-da-da-da-da.
So
You're like,
I laughed at that one. I didn't laugh at the 50th one.
Right.
Like, at the 50th one, I was like, boy, you are lucky that you're good.
That's what I mean. Like, not the laugh is like, this is funny, but the laugh is like, oh, these side missions are not good. Like, it's just like,
at
okay.
first you kind of hope, you're like, oh, well, maybe this is just like a joke that they're doing. And then you realize, like, this is not a bit. This is just how they design things. But the things that elevated it past that is that every single moment of combat gameplay is absolutely incredible and the most satisfying it has ever been in a Final Fantasy game. And I hope that it continues, because parrying magic attacks and sending them back at people is, and then afterwards doing snatch or grapple and pulling them or grappling to them, and having then trying to bait out a physical attack to then parry the physical attack so that you can fucking do JoJo punches or whatever, depending on whatever icon you have equipped. Even the crazy fucking shit that you can end up doing with Odin's Kit, where you can get a Zantek Kutsen to just charge up to level 5 and just wipe out bosses' health bars, is incredible. And then the story, obviously, without, we won't go too, we'll probably save that for the full Game of the Year discussion, but the story is incredible. Everything that happens with Clive and his journey is just fantastic. And it doesn't hurt that at the end you have one of the most heartfelt quests I think I've ever seen in a video game with Torgal, that just fucking kills you. It breaks your heart. Like, it is, and it's just, I don't know, man. It's so well done, and I'm very excited to get into the DLC. Nothing more that I can say about the game. It's phenomenal. It's a great game.
Great game.
Nice. Preston.
Best one since 10.
There you go.
I appreciate that call out. Which was the best one since 9?
Yeah.
I like how you didn't think about that for a second. You're like, okay.
What do you say? Yes. Yeah.
My number 9. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. Great game.
Wow.
Great homage to Jet Set Radio. I liked a little bit of story here and there. Did think could be a little plain, but overall, it was a very fun ride through that type of game. It's been a long time since I've been able to play a game like that. It's been a long time since a game has tried to do that and done it well. So it was very good that we finally actually got a good one of those. Soundtrack is 10 out of 10 out of 10. Like, best soundtrack probably of this entire year, outside of what maybe might be my number one. We'll talk about that when we get there. But yes, it's fantastic.
Naganuma is all over this soundtrack, and I'm so happy. If there's nothing else, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk deserves a place on people's list because it gave us 18 more tracks from Hideki Naganuma that we wouldn't have had otherwise. It's incredible.
They're phenomenal. Fantastic. But yeah, no, loved that game. Loved everything it did. I can't really say anything bad about it. It was just great. The only thing I would turn people off is maybe the look of it, the aesthetic. But I was ready for that aesthetic when I went in.
Yep. Yeah, same.
Can I say I always love Preston's list because I never know what's coming. Like, you dabble in enough games, you play enough games, like, I never know what's going to be on your list, especially in the orders, which is funny. So
I actually finished a lot of games this year, so.
I think this year we're going to surprise each other a lot on placement and things, because
we'll see.
There's, like, to your point, Alex, there was a lot of games.
Yeah. So one that's not a surprise, I'm not going to dive into too much because Christian said a lot of it, and it's, for everything he said, is the reason why it's my number 8 game, which is Like a Dragon, Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name. Number 8, it's narratively it's great. A lot of side shit that doesn't need to be there, but when they do it, it's good. And I agree to Christian's point. Like, I'm fine with a beat 'em up if it wants to stay in Judgment because those games are fewer and far between. But every Yakuza Like a Dragon game needs to go turn based. That's it.
Yeah, I thought you were gonna say Final Fantasy 16, and I was like, okay, you had it a one spot higher than me, but you had a reaction when I said that.
No, my 16 is higher on my list, but my number 8 is Like a Dragon for everything you said. It's why it deserves to be there, and so on. So, that's it.
So my number 8 is Resident Evil 4 Remake. So, without getting into the whole Ship of Theseus argument of how much things do you have to change on something before it becomes a new thing, in my opinion, Resident Evil 4 Remake changes, at the very least, over 50% of the game, and it's completely different. So, I treat it as a new thing, and in that regard, it's incredible. It's one of the best survival horror games I've ever played.
I believe you.
Even the thing that, and I mean, you guys watched it, right? But the thing that takes it down is Ada Wong's performance. I don't know how another way to describe it. It is truly remarkably bad.
Jarring.
And I don't
for a quality game to then have something.
Well, and then the actors around her too as well.
Yeah.
You have the shopkeeper in Resident Evil 4, which is obviously the most iconic thing probably in all of video games. Mm-hmm. And the voice actor they bring, and this guy fucking murders it. I mean, absolutely steals the scenes that he's in, and you then have Ada, and you're just like, it is the most bland delivery I've ever heard. I don't know. It's so hard to describe how bad it is, like without seeing it, like, or hearing it, I should say, like, and it's enough to knock it down, in my opinion, on my list, where I'm just like, every single, and it doesn't hurt. I mean, her DLC is part of it, right? And there's the whole sections of the game that's there that you have to deal with her. But God, every single time she shows up on the fucking codec in the game, you're just like, stop talking. Who greenlit this? This is awful. Like, and I know why. We talked about it before. It's the same actress that played it in the Netflix live action series, so they wanted the tie-in there.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's a huge thing. It's very clear why they did it.
That long-lasting, successful Netflix TV series.
Right. Whatever. But then they had so, and I know this probably comes off as really harsh, because I know that this woman has never voice acted before. As we've said multiple times on this show, it's a very different skill set than acting, and there's a lot of people who can't bridge that gap. Peter
Look at you, Peter Dinklage.
Thank you. It's hard. It's not easy. So I'm not making it out to be like, all you had to do was talk better. Like, it's not. It's very clearly something else. That being said, so I'm not trying to be mean to this person. I know you were trying your best, but oh my God, it is not a not good take at it. And I would have rather them take Ada's voice lines from the original and then AI string them together to make sense in the story rewrites that they've done. I would have rather that than what we got. That's how bad it is. But that's, otherwise the game's incredible. You can fucking parry things with a knife. Leon does backflips over shit, and
parries a chainsaw.
He parries a chainsaw. It's fucking so radical. Every single gun in the game feels incredible. They feel just like it's exactly what you want. And then the wackiness from Resident Evil is still on display there. There's the shooting mini games with the weird pirate stuff, and you can have fun in that regard. You can unlock an unlimited rocket launcher and just run through the whole game and just rocket launcher everything and keep running and do the thing. It's so fun. It has so much replayability. It is everything that Resident Evil needs to be. And honestly, with how quality their remakes have been, I cannot wait to see how they fucking fix the crazy racist mess that was 5.
Okay.
All right.
Also, sorry, side note, I know you said, Christian, you wish like AI would have strung it together, but was it not a different Resident Evil game, or was it a Silent Hill game that got so much backlash this year for accusations of AI writing?
That was Silent Hill. Yeah.
Silent Hill, yeah. Apparently AI did not come up with a successful narrative for that one. Or dialogue.
And so again, I'm not suggesting that they did the narrative, like Ada's narrative with AI. I'm just saying
her voice.
They could have taken the PS2 lines, because the dialogue is different in this game than the original in a lot of cases. But you could have, I'm sure that in the original she said enough words that you could take the words and rearrange them to the right way they would supposed to be, and then just try to use AI to smooth that transition between words over. And I think it would have been probably fun. It would have been better than this, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right, Preston, what you got for us at number 8?
Number 8, I streamed it. It's El Paso Elsewhere. This one was my surprise of the year. This one I thought, got a little bit of a Max Payne clone. I like that kind of game. I like to go slow. I like to dive in slow motion with 2 guns in my hands. Let's see how this game works out. Game blew me away. Game was fantastic. The story in it, the voice acting in it, like the small team that it was. The gentleman also did the whole entire soundtrack for it, which is like a hip-hop album. His artist name for that album is Lake Savage, after Sam Lake. And it's overall just a giant in honor of for the Max Payne series. And they did a phenomenal job with it. It wasn't ripping off of the story of Max Payne. This is your ex-girlfriend is Dracula, queen of the vampires or whatever, and she's doing this end of the world event, and you're going through levels and levels through this elevator to stop her. So 50 levels through, you get to that end boss, and if I need to try to get in top 10, we'll see if I can get in that top 10. I doubt it, but I'm not going to spoil anything at the end, but there are 2 different endings that you can get depending on how you play the game. So if you kill too many of the people that you save, because you can accidentally kill them, like if I'm trying to shoot at an enemy, I can accidentally shoot one of the innocents behind them. Or you can just go through the whole entire game and just kill them all if you really wanted to. But there are 2 different endings, essentially a good and bad ending at the very end. And that game did so much better than I thought it was going to be. Loved every minute of it. Would play it again. 10 out of 10. Great game. If you enjoy that old Max Payne style, you will love this game. One little tip for everyone who wants to play it: turn your high definition audio quality, whatever that fucking setting is, the super high end audio, turn that off, because that is what made the frame skips for me. So
really interesting. Okay.
Yep. As soon as you turn that off, shit works fucking fantastic. Don't know why. So yep.
That's
great
so
game.
Weird. But
fucking love that game. Phenomenal.
All right, my number 7 was a surprise. Not my biggest surprise of the year, but it was a surprise because I picked it up on a whim, started playing it. Something Christian mentioned earlier that did not make his list, which was Chants of Sennaar. Not a whole lot of narrative here, but the gameplay and the uniqueness of the gameplay that it absolutely nailed in itself was enough to put it above a few of these. Like I said, some of the safe picks and some of the collectathons and other stories. So it was very unique. I really enjoyed the mechanic, and I love when people can take like tactical puzzle games and turn them into something beyond that, right? Like, because all you're doing is figuring out puzzles, and I like word puzzles, and these are like the hardest of word puzzles. But it makes it enjoyable, right? I'm not just like staring at a piece of paper trying to decode a message. I'm running around, I'm exploring, I'm talking to people. It was a cool take on the Tower of Babel, which I thought was interesting. And it was beautiful. It was a beautiful game in the artwork and the color palettes and stuff they used. So, Chants of Sennaar was totally worth my number 7 spot.
Okay.
My number 7, Bomb Rush Cyberpunk. I won't. Yet we can just go right about. Like, it's the same reason Preston said. It's incredible. I loved it. It was exactly what I would want in a sequel to Jet Set Radio. Soundtrack's banger. I listen to it all the time.
It's great.
Right, it's fucking phenomenal. It's a great game.
Amazing game.
And it plays and runs fantastic on the deck. So
there's a couple games that we'll talk about today, but this I've been listening to a lot of Game of the Year like ending debates, like different podcasts. This is one of those games that gets done so fucking dirty by everyone who talks about it, and like, just shut up, just don't talk about it. If you don't want that game, then don't play that fucking game. But you want to sit here and trash talk it while it's a perfectly fine, fantastic game if you're about that type of game. But people,
Yeah,
are like, dude, I was listening to Giant Bomb. They're talking about like, oh, the skateboarding is bad mechanics. I'm like, fuck you, they're amazing. Like, how are they bad at all?
It plays like Jet Set Radio. Like, I don't know what you were wanting. And
you
I'm
want
sorry
Tony
that
Hawk? That's not
yeah,
the
like
game.
I'm sorry that you went to Jet Set Radio looking for a Tony Hawk game, but that's not what it is.
Was,
and
yeah.
it would be garbage if it was.
You can't take stuff like that too seriously. Like I
don't.
I was reading a forum on Alan Wake today, do something, and people were complaining, saying the mechanics of the flashlight are inconsistent and they're worse than the first game.
Yeah.
And so it's
Which
just
is
like,
incorrect, but
it's wrong.
yeah.
They're not. It's not inconsistent. It's actually more like real to life accurate, like how things would actually move and just. So
I mean,
it's internet being internet. And people
I had 12 hours of drive time to go to St. Louis for the holidays. I needed to have something in the background. I decided to have that on. It was my choice.
Yeah.
For sure. All right.
Preston, you're number 7.
Number 7. Super Mario Brothers Wonder. It's a great platformer. This is probably the best platformer that came out this all year. So I wanted to give it its due. It's a Nintendo game. It's got the polish. It's got the perfection to it. It's another Mario game. It's a great Mario game. All the Wonder Seeds get crazy. Every single one of them is different. And they do something to change it up. It was a great game. Now, that being said, there was a lot of people on there that were telling me this is the best thing since fucking 3 or World. And I'll give it to you. It's a really good platformer. It's a really good Mario game. I am not going to put it up there with World. I am not going to put it up there with World 2. I'll say it is a good one of those. I still think those are better. But it's a great game. Great game.
All right. All right.
But I didn't want to go back to any of it. There's a whole other sorts of stuff I could have gone back to, got all the collectibles, anything like that. Didn't care to. I finished it, finished the final boss. I'm like, cool, on to the next game. Move on.
Yeah. It's a tough year for that.
Yeah, it's a few. But Mario.
My number 6, only one of 2 ocean-related games that actually made the list, and that would be Dredge.
There you
So
go.
I also played Dave the Diver. Dredge was the one that made the list. Another surprise to me, I played based off of solely off of the way Christian was speaking about this game in one of his weeks. I was like, that sounds great. Let's go try it out. I caught it on sale, and that was a super surprise game to me. The mechanics were great. The small narrative was fantastic. I liked that in multiple endings, but it was so creative and just like you're the sailor that doesn't really have a memory. You're scared of the dark. You're trying to figure out what's going on in this like eldritch horror type world. Super good, amazing artwork, and polished to the bone, which is a theme of a lot of games this year, but specifically non-AAA games.
Yeah.
All of these non-AAA games that I played this year were so perfectly polished that you got to thank those devs for putting artwork in. So my number 6 is Dredge.
Yeah. Also, its DLC came out recently, The Pale Reach, and it was good. Yep, I liked it.
Yeah.
It was really fun. So I think I talked about it. I don't know if I did, but yeah. So now my number 6 is Armored Core 6: Fires of Rubicon.
Hey.
All right.
Hey, samesies.
Hey, all right, let's talk about it then.
Putting 6 on 6. 6 on 6.
So
6 on 6
oh
on
yeah,
6 on
6
6.
2 1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I just looked down.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. We all know that I'm a mark for mechs.
Yeah.
The game was absolutely Armored Core is a game that's made for me.
But if it's a bad mech game, you'll put it down. You'll put it away.
Yes, yeah, I would not play just, but it was I knew, but I've loved Armored Core for a really long time. It got done so absolutely dirty by 5, and then it died because of how bad 5 was. And I was positive that I'd never see one again, especially because the company who makes it, FromSoft, happened to find just a little bit of a ditty game called Dark Souls, and
then
boom,
Elden
it
Ring.
exploded. Well, Demon Souls, and then the genre exploded from there. And I was positive from that moment that I would never get another Armored Core game, because why would you? It would be stupid to try to do it. And I mean that genuinely. Like, that's not me like a dig. Like, financially, it would make 0 sense to stop making Souls games in favor of an Armored Core game. But the crazy sons of bitches did it, and not only did they do it, but they did it so
Very
well. The best thing, it borrows things. It does a sort of near automata style telling where you don't get the full story until 3 full playthroughs, and things change, and story is being dropped, every which way throughout each playthrough. The bosses and gear that you can get is so fucking fun. All the builds, there's no build that's not viable. Like, no matter what your playstyle, and a lot of times, a lot of these games, there is one playstyle and build that sort of rises to the top, and you're like, yeah, you can do other things, but really this is the optimal way to play. That is not the case here. Every single build that you could think of to fit your playstyle is viable, and you can make it work in any which way that you want to do so. It's fantastic, and Act 3 ending has one of the best moments in video games to me of all time, and it's certainly of this year, which is the giant mecha worm fight.
Yep.
And I'll just really quick say, it's one of the best design moments that I've ever seen. It has there's so many little details that go into that moment that are unnoticed at the beginning until you start really looking for these pieces. But there's so many things that go into this one singular moment that is so incredibly well done that my mouth was just open while it was happening on the screen. And Rusty is one of the best companions for any video game ever. And that's it. It's fantastic. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add to it, Preston.
It's great. It looks great. I like FromSoft games. I like looking at them. I am not a FromSoft guy. I will not sit there and beat my head against the wall. It's not that kind of guy I am. This game actually got me. I was excited. This looks great. It's fast paced. I think I can get into this. I think I can get into this a little bit more than the other games. And Christian's like, don't play it like a FromSoft game. Like it's not one of those. It is that game, but it's not a Souls game, put it that way. So just go ahead and go into it, play it as a crazy anime mech game, and you'll love it. Did it. Was doing really well. I shelved it because I was told that it takes 3 playthroughs to really get the full story. I was like, there's other games coming out I really want to play, so I just shelved it. This will be the game I go back to this coming year, to where if I have time to put towards another game and we don't have anything new that I need to play, I will be going back to this to play more of it, because I did love that game. It's a fantastic game. Looks phenomenal. Plays exactly like you want a mech action game to play. And I just had the time of my life making my own mech. Spent probably well over an hour just putting every little minute detail, putting little decals, little paint splashes here and there. It's a lot of fun. If you have any type of mech fantasy, this game will fulfill it for you. The only thing I can say is a downfall, I think the story's a little dry, but that's just based on the way that they bring it to you. Because really all you're doing is you're hearing and seeing the dialogue down at the bottom in little square boxes, just like, I guess, like Metal Gear style. And like while you're looking at your mech loading up and stuff like that, that's for all the story outside of maybe in-game.
In the missions, yeah.
In the missions. But yeah, it's just that seemed to kind of bring it down a little bit for me. Maybe if I saw some faces to some of these characters other than just a picture of their mech while they talked, maybe that would have helped me kind of get more attached to the story. But the story gets wild. The crazy shit that happens in it are great. I just think the story, as far as the dialogue itself, is a little boring. But that's just me personally.
Although it feels good when Rusty calls you buddy.
Yeah, it does. There's a lot of cool things that happen in that game when someone says something. But that's the only downfall I can give it to you, is I thought it was a little meh in the story. But again, I haven't even finished the first playthrough. I got 2 other playthroughs to go through. I'm sure the story just gets wacky. So
yeah.
All right. Nice. I watched you guys play that game. I thought the game looked gorgeous. I think it totally deserves a place on the list. I cannot stress how excited I am that you both had it at number 6, because I was so worried I was going to have to argue with you for the top 10 on our collective top 10 of like why it should not be
top
number
3.
2.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for having it at number 6. Awesome. So my number 5 is Tears of the Kingdom. It was a fantastic story. It was a great Zelda game. It was probably one of my favorite stories of a Zelda game in a very long time. I thought it was better than Breath of the Wild. I appreciated everything they did, just giving you free roam sandbox. With that being said,
again, to your point, it's very ballsy that they allow you to spoil the biggest twist of the story for yourself within the first 10 minutes if you do.
Yeah, if you do. Like it, they did what they wanted to do, which was say, like, here's our world, go do it however you want to, right? With all of that being said, The game in a year that was so packed, it was so big that I did not take the time to explore everything it had to offer. I also was a bit overwhelmed at times at how much you could do. Like, I did not approach some of the puzzles and stuff as creatively as I probably could have, just because, like, I see the temple, I'm just like, what's the quickest way through this, right? Like, or I see need to get over there. Like, how can I just chop down a tree and build a bridge? I'm not going to, like, build this U-2 bomber that's, like, dropping, like, just, you know, bombs or lasers and everything. There's too much. And I appreciate the people that dedicated all of their stream time to showing what could be done. So it was a great game, a really good Zelda game. I really did appreciate the story. I did mostly mainline it because of that. Although I think I did like 100 shrines, but still like a third of them. But yeah, that's, I think, for me, on my personal list, number 5, right in the middle, exactly where the Zelda game belongs.
There you go. Yes, that's a one I was disappointed I did not play this year, but one of these days I'll get to it.
It unfortunately it did not make my list. There was just too many games that came out, but I agree with everything Alex said. It is a great game. I think the story is a little meh in my opinion, but I think that about all Zelda games. So it's not like a dig against Tears of the Kingdom. But it is the better one of Zelda stories for sure. Mm-hmm. And again, I respect the hell out of the balls to let somebody spoil its twist in the story within the first 10 minutes if they just happen to walk that way. Because it's wild that they let you do that. Like no other game in the history of forever would ever let you do that, but it does, and I actually respect the hell out of that. My number 5, Baldur's Gate 3.
Oh shit! Okay.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. A lot of good games came out this year, and Baldur's Gate 3 is one of them. So, honestly, you know, we talked about this game a shit ton already. Preston brought it up in his week. Alex and I have talked about it, you know, at length. Not much more to say. What hasn't? I mean, it won Game of the Year for a reason from the Keeleys. Like, it's incredible. There's, you know, it is an incredibly polished experience that they keep adding more to for some reason, and they could just stop. But, like, I just played the epilogue recently. It's very good. I will say the epilogue did disappoint me a little bit, only because it was not the game's fault. It was billed to me by other people as a Citadel DLC equivalent, and so I was expecting like one last mission before the party kind of thing. Like, I was expecting a little bit more. It was literally just a, hey, where are they now 6 months later kind of thing, which was great. It was fun to put a bow on everybody's storyline. So it
added like 30,000 lines of dialogue. Now, granted, you're not going to experience all of that. That's a different thing, but still, like,
that patch did, because it added more around Minthara, so a huge chunk of that is a separate a separate party member that you can get. But yes, there is a lot of dialogue in the epilogue. Like, there's tons, and it's great. I'm happy that they did it. It's really, really good. No issues. It's just like I said, I ended up, through no fault of the game, I ended up coming in with a different idea of what I thought it was going to be, and so I was kind of bummed when it was not that. That being said, that had nothing to do with my rating, though. I'd already put it here before I played that. Really, the honest reason that it came in at number 5 and not number 1 or anything else is because I thought the main narrative was just fine. Like, and this is kind of what happens. It happens to, you know, a lot of the great RPGs of, you know, of all time, is that a lot of the side stuff and characters and party things that you can do along the way end up being, you need to make them compelling for people to do them. And every company that I've ever seen make a game or an RPG that has party members and companion stuff in it always makes it so that they want them to be as compelling as possible, but they end up making them too compelling in a way that makes it so that all of their writing power goes to that stuff and not the main narrative, to the point where when I'm doing side quests, like when I'm doing the Hag mission in Act 1, I'm like, dude, the way that this story is going, and like me knocking out her brothers and then trying to tell, like, hey, your brothers aren't dead, I just knocked them out, and then doing stuff and like fighting the Hag and shoving her down a hole and saving her and trying to talk her down to not have her resurrect her weird zomboid husband, and like the whole thing is...
Or that time when we all play together and Preston lights her on fire and lets her die in the basement.
Did not do that on my solo playthrough.
Yeah. And so all of that, right, is so much, like, it's so good, and it is, just the wackiest hijinks that can happen in the middle of there that makes it so that when I'm talking to like, you know, when I end up doing the main narrative, I'm like, yeah, this is okay. I want to go see what else is going on. There's times where the main narrative happens and you're like, yeah, whatever you guys want, just get out of my way so I can go and do the other things that I meant to do in this next act, right? Like, I gotta go see what these characters are up to, or I know that somebody I'm supposed to be talking to is going to be here, so I need to go see this. And it doesn't help. It doesn't help the main narrative's case that my first playthrough was a Dark Urge playthrough, and the Dark Urge storyline is one of, if not the most satisfying storylines I've ever played in a fucking video game.
Okay.
And so having that reach its climax basically more so at the same time that the main game ends, I'm faced with these two different things, and I'm like, man, one of these is way better than the other, and it's not the main narrative. Like, it is this Dark Urge storyline that I've been doing that has resolved in one of the most satisfying ways that I could have ever imagined. And there's, you know, one moment in particular that is also on my short list for Moment of the Year, along with the Armored Core thing, that I will not spoil yet, but I'm sure we will talk about it, but it has to do with a character I don't think you've met him yet. Have you met the devil, one of the devils that tries to make you a deal?
No, I have not.
In Act 1 yet? I mean, so there's a part in one of the roads that you can walk down in Act 1 that he'll spawn. I don't know what I'm blanking on his name as the actual character, but there is a moment that you get in Act 3 where his quest line can resolve, which has a musical number that rivals the musical numbers in Alan Wake, that Alex knows exactly what I'm talking about.
You're talking about the devil.
Yes. Do you remember his name? I don't remember his name.
No, I don't.
Oh, you can look it up while I'm talking. But yeah, so that is one of those moments that I will just never let go of. When it happened, I just couldn't believe that it was happening. But yeah, it's number 5 on my list. It's an incredible game. Raphael, thank you.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. That's it. It's a great game that I just thought, unfortunately, the main narrative just didn't hit for me as well, and that's why I put it there on this list. But everything else is exactly the kind of quality that I have come to expect from Larian, and I am happy that more people than ever are now also on the Larian train, because they're fantastic developers.
Oh, yeah. Yes. All right.
Preston, what you got?
Number 5, Cassette Beasts. Now, don't let anyone fool you. This is not just another Pokemon game. This game does so many different things to it. I like the aesthetic. I like the chill vibes it has. You're going through and you're getting your cassettes and you're evolving them, and then the way that some of those evolutions can go as far as make the options that you have with those, the transfusions that you have with like your partners, to where those monsters will infuse with those, and then they'll make a different looking one based off of those two that you chose. It's phenomenal. Love the story. This little side story stuff's a lot of fun too. Like we talked about Barkley a lot. I'm sure we'll talk about that story, and we'll spoil that a little bit probably next week when we come to our big top 10s, if me and Christian have to fight for it to get higher up. But that will be something that we'll pull, and we will make Alex cry live on screen. So
don't argue with us is what he said.
Yeah, don't argue. But yeah, no, it's and then when you get to it, like there's a lot of this random crazy shit. I mean, like I'll give like the first start off with it. It's a lot like the Zelda Link to the Past, where you wash up on a shore, you're in some unknown world, and you find out that you and everyone in here is from a different dimension. Whether it's a time or a place or something like that, we've all just kind of dropped in here. Maybe someone's apartment comes with them, other things as well. And everyone is out of place. Everyone is like an outsider in this world. And then you deal with the emotions and the mental stuff that go along with that. Great story doing on top of that. On top of the weird ethereal shit that happens with the angels and the very ending of this game. Knocked it out of the park. 10 out of 10. Better than any Pokemon game I've played. It's really fucking great. I love this game. A lot. And yeah, nice. That one's my number 5.
All right. Number 4. A surprise to me. Did not expect this game to be this high. It is Super Mario Wonder.
There you go.
And I completely disagree with what Preston said. I do actually think it's not just another Mario game, and it is much better than many of the games in the past. Now, I won't go, like, I'm not a Mario
So
aficionado,
there.
I'll
No,
go back.
many I will give it to you, yes, but they're telling me
I
it's
say-
like top 3 of all games.
I say I'm not an aficionado to go back and be like, it's the best since 3. Like, I'm not going to go that far. But, A, like always, incredibly polished. B, they did, I mean, with the Switch, what Monster Hunter did, like, it is so gorgeous. It's like black magic on what that console is capable of. But the creativity and the Wonder Seeds, I will give them, like, I think I experienced 2 Wonder Seeds that duplicated mechanics, but they even made them different in, like, your objective or what you were doing. So, like, every level has a Wonder Seed, and to make every single one of them, like, unique was pretty impressive.
Yes.
The narrative was fun. The final boss battle was wacky. Like, it was such a great game. It's the first Mario game, like, I've actually given a shit about in a long time. I've said this before. Last time we talked about it on my week, I play them with Allie. She likes them. And typically, it's like, okay, let's sit down, let's play some, and I'm done with it. But this one, I was actually looking at her like, hey, do you want to play Mario? Do you want to play Mario? So, not my favorite Mario game ever. I actually still think Luigi's Mansion 3 is one of the best Mario games ever. But
a Luigi game,
one of the
that's
best. It's the universe, the greater Mario
fair enough.
universe,
The Mario connected,
MCEU.
Mario connected universe.
But no, to your point, Preston, it is like in my opinion, the best side scroller that I played this year. Like, it was
100%.
incredible. So it was my number 4. I'll fight for that game. That was a fantastic game. It was gorgeous. It was fun to play. So yep, that's it.
My number 4, and we can just move right past this because I agree with everything Preston said. Street Fighter 6. It is an incredible fighting game. I had so much fun with it. I love fighting games. Over the years, fighting games have had sort of like a rebirth, and they've been getting more popular. Evo was one of the hypest things that I've ever watched this year. I'm going to the one that happens next year. It's happening. We are talking about doing it. I cannot wait. But Street Fighter 6 is, in my opinion, everything that a fighting game should be, as far as how it welcomes new players, how everything that Preston said. It's fantastic, and I love it. It's so much fun to play.
Yeah. Improved upon everything fighting games need to improve upon.
Yes.
Nice, Preston. What you got for 4?
And 4, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This is a great Star Wars story. I like the way some of the evolutions of the characters that Cal is around as far as their companionships.
Preston, you can just say that it is number 4 because of Scuba Steve.
Scuba Stev. I was going to
Scuba
ask the
Stev.
same thing without him. Where would it have fallen?
The new characters.
I was going to say the same thing. Yeah.
No, the new characters are also fucking fantastic. Scuba Stev, I know him. I love him. He's one of my favorite new Star Wars characters. I would be very sad if I don't see him pop up in anything else. Or if he's at least not in the next Jedi game. If he's not in the next Jedi game, I'll be very sad and disappointed.
So I guess we could say with that, like, Big Daddy is now canon in Star Wars, yeah? Like, you could actually tie in Big Daddy to the rest of Star Wars movies and
I
just
guess
watch them.
no,
Because
you can't.
it's canon.
No, it's not canon. He's not some weird yellow fish art action figure dude. So no, but no, I loved this game. They improved upon the combat a little bit. They didn't go too much into it, like Alex said. It was a little bit safe, but I'm okay with that because I fucking loved the previous game, Fallen Order. I love the relationship with him and his lady friend, the witch lady, whose name is evading me right now. I know it starts with an M. I want to say Manon, but it's not because that's a Street Fighter character's name.
Emo Manon.
Yeah, Emo Manon. But I love that character. Got the
It's closer to Jury.
Yeah. But I know Alex is looking up for me, so I'll figure out here. in a minute.
Marin. You were not
Thank you.
far off.
That was very
Marin.
close. It's been a while.
You know
since I
what?
played.
Manon is close.
Manon is
Yeah.
close, yeah.
No, it's not bad. Not bad.
But yeah, I love that. The twist at the end. Did not see it coming. Christian said he saw it a little bit, and I think Alex said he saw it a little bit too, but I did not see that coming at all. So it was a very good twist. What they let you do at the very end with the rest of that ending, I thought was very phenomenal. I'm very excited to see what they do with the third one that they're going to put out, which I think they said they did. They will.
To be fair, I only saw that there was something up with him. I did not see the turn that I did not see what the answer was.
Sure.
I just
Well,
knew
we're
he
talking
was
about
huge.
game of the year. We can spoil
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I agree. I agree with Alex. I knew that. Whatever. I
was
don't know
sketchy.
why. I'm thinking his name is Bo. I know it's not Bo, but I
Bode?
just Bode. Okay, so I was close. There we
yeah,
go.
we're all close. Star Wars fucking names. Who cares?
Yeah, I knew something was up with him. I was like, you're evil and you're going to do something stupid to me later. I did not see him being a Sith. That is
Yeah.
what I did not see coming. But I did, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, no, that was great. That is my number 4.
All right. Number 3, not going to spend too long on it because Christian already talked about it. Final Fantasy 16.
Hey.
Nice.
Yeah, so
All right.
let's talk about it.
There we
Go
go.
for
Let's
it.
do it.
Yeah.
So, first of all, one of the most beautiful games I played all year. Like they pushed. It was so pretty, even in the subtle scenes and the action scenes. And it almost killed my PlayStation 5 twice. Like
see that happen.
during the Phoenix battle, it paused for 1 second, and I was like, "This is the moment it happens."
We do need to have a moment of silence. Rest in peace to all of our fallen soldiers whose
Yes.
PS5s exploded during the Bahamut fight scene, because it did
Yeah.
happen. There's videos all over. Like I said, rest in peace to our fallen soldiers, because fuck.
It was so beautiful. I loved the way they did the extra powers. How you could get if the Titan powers, you get the Odin power, or whatever. Like you could choose how you wanted to do the gameplay on that. I loved the love story that they did in that,
Fantastic
which,
love
in my
story.
opinion, was one of the best relationships. And
I agree.
The way
So the story between Clive and Torgal is one of the best love stories ever told.
Correct.
Dude, the end, you talked about the Torgal side mission, but just the end in general was so beautiful. And the very, very end of when they do show Torgal and what happens there. I told you guys, I was finishing the game right as I was logging onto a call, and it's like, I'm tearing up, like kind of crying right now at the end of this. I have to hop on a work call immediately.
I know some people were irritated by this, but so the very, very end, I love the ambiguity at the end. I love that you don't know whether... I mean, my personal opinion is that I believe that with Clive's, big sacrifice at the end, he is the one who died, and Joshua was the one who was revived through there and wrote the book and had the whole thing right after magic was taken from the world and blah, blah, blah. There's some people who say that there's reason to believe that it was Clive who survived and Joshua died and did the whole thing. Who knows, right? But I love the ambiguity there. I love that it ends and sort of just lets you go, hey, whatever you took from it is what you get from it, and that's how it goes. I love that. So
I love the relationship between Clive and Jill was incredible. And yes, and Torgal too. But all of the side characters are really, really, really good. But even beyond that, I forget the name. But
shout out to Gav.
Yep.
Shout out to Gav, who was a good character. I forget the name, but the first time you see the floating half body. Which was a callback, you fight it, but it was a callback to an older Final Fantasy game, just in the name, even though the character looked different. The way that game set its tone of we're more adult, we're darker. This is a character action game, and you can tell in this fight scene. At the same time, playing homage to the older Final Fantasy games and pulling stuff in, is peak Dev Team 3 or whatever, 14 team and Heavensward team came over to work on this, they did a great job. It was gorgeous, good story. It's high for me, not because of its side quests, but because of everything else. If the side quests were as good as the main game, it'd probably be number 1.
Probably.
Because of that, it's number 3.
And this is we can end but hot take for Final Fantasy 16, and I think that I don't know if you guys agree. This is my personal opinion. It is the best Cid in any Final Fantasy game I've ever played.
Rugged,
I know you've only played
rugged smoker, always gnawing on a cigar kind of thing. That voice is just that voice is perfect for him.
Fantastic.
The Cid in 16 is better than any Cid in any, and that's including 9, any Final Fantasy that has ever been made. The Cid in 16 is incredible.
I still can't get over that voice, man. That voice is phenomenal.
Yeah.
I mean, he had himself a year because he was in another game too this year. And
I'm not sure.
He was. the voice actor was in 2 games this year. He was in Diablo. He's in Diablo.
Fast, I believe.
I believe. Yeah.
I didn't get half those cutscenes, so I don't know.
Talking about a game that definitely didn't make a list.
You don't know. I still have 2 spots left.
We also have testes, so it might win something.
Yeah,
that's true.
Fair.
Anyway, so it's my number 3. Again, we'll get more into the spoilery stuff and talk more about it in the next episode. But Preston,
no, it'd be Christian.
Anything to add?
No, I mean anything you wanted to
gotta
add.
say
To
game.
Final
So
Fantasy,
sure,
'cause
yeah,
it's
I
your
mean-
number 3. Yeah.
Phenomenal. I mean, the boss fights in there were magnificent. The one in the sand area is one of the best boss fights I have ever had. This is 100,000% so far my favorite Final Fantasy game I've ever played. It's the second one I've ever beaten. To be fair, I've beaten 2 of them this year, so I mean, there's not a big long list behind it. But as far as like aesthetic, everything, it is my number 1. We'll see where that lands after I finish 12. Which will happen
Alex
this year.
and I both know what's about to happen when you play 12.
When I play Star Wars Final Fantasy has bunny ladies in it, it's probably gonna win for me.
He's gonna get to the cutscene where a couple characters come flying in on a space motorcycle, and one of them is a bunny girl in like a leather bikini. It's gonna go, well, clearly this is my new favorite game.
Yeah, kind of catering to that one.
Fran is gonna carry 12 very far for Preston.
But no, I loved it. Torgal stuff, like you guys told me about that. I had to stop and do the side missions. I didn't do a lot of side missions on this game. I just wanted to get through the story because it was a phenomenal story, very well done. Again, same way I'm going to talk about when I talk about another game, but voice acting is phenomenal. The acting itself with the characters, as far as the emotion and everything like that, and I got hiccups now, is also just above and beyond the best. I love this game. All of it.
There was one of the prettiest things I've ever seen is when you're going to the area where Leviathan used to be. Now Leviathan lost because he's no longer there. But you look out over the water and there's just this circle crater where like the water falls over the. It's gorgeous.
Yep.
Anyway,
there's a screenshot on my PlayStation somewhere where I saw that and go, yeah, I have to put this right now. Press this button.
Yeah.
Yep.
Christian, what's your number 3? What you got?
My number 3 is Alan Wake 2.
Oh, okay.
And it had to be. It was one of the best games that I've ever played. It might make a spot in my all-time top 10, which is something that we should do sometime. As a side quest, that would be fun to try to nail down. But it's incredible. It is one of the best survival horror games that I've ever played. I've said this to Alex, and I've said this multiple times. Between it and Resident Evil 4 Remake, the bar for survival horror games now is so high that I would hate to be somebody who is releasing one after these 2 games. Like, I don't even know. You really have to come correct to.
I mean, don't come out this year, but yeah, especially.
Yeah, I mean, yes, but in general, an example I used to Alex was like, man, a game that came out this year that again I think is very good, but it couldn't make my top 10, which Dead Space Remake.
Dead Space Remake, yeah.
Which is, it has a new ending, right? Like they do different things in that game, but one, just a lot of good games came out this year, but 2, as far as survival horror games are concerned, like those 2 were so much like I would hate to be the team at EA thinking, what does the next Dead Space 2 look like? Because obviously, for those who don't know, I won't say what happens, but with the new endings and implications and things that happen in Dead Space 1, you can kick off, something completely new, which they might do, right? Like it's very well that the next Dead Space 2 could be a Resident Evil 4 remake style game of it's the game but it's not kind of thing. Final Fantasy 7 remake, rebirth, all that, 365 divided by 2 days, whatever.
Tree draw distance.
Yeah. But so they could do something like that, but I'd hate to be in their position. I really, really would, because you are really gonna have to come with some fucking crazy shit to be able to match even this game. I mean, dude, we were talking about the musical number that happens in it. That's one of the craziest things I've ever had in a video game happen. Like,
I made Allie watch it today, and she didn't watch the whole thing because it's like that level's like 25 minutes long. But like, I made her watch it, and she was like, "This thing." I was like, "Yeah, this is a level where you go from computer generated character to live action video, back to computer generated character, while live action, and like it's not. There's no like uncanny valley. It's so well
weird.
done. You're not even. Yeah, it doesn't feel weird, right? Like it's so well done. You're not looking at that going like the video game and they're like no, it's like flawless.
Like they nail the balance so well, and that's I guess that's really one of the things I guess I'll land on is like there's and Alex, you've played it, and Preston, you watched me play the whole thing, so you guys there's so many things that can go wrong in this game, like it being a survival horror game is already one of them, right? Like that's already a fickle genre that you're pushing a lot of people off of just by virtue of existing. And then you have the sort of strange combat mechanics that where you have to, use a flashlight to hit them down that people, quite frankly, in Alan Wake 1, they weren't huge fans of. Like, it's the worst part of that game is playing it. The story is what carries that game. Now, that, in my opinion, changes in Alan Wake 2. The gameplay in Alan Wake 2 is incredible. But, so there's that, right? Then there's the live action mixed with gameplay stuff. That's a really hard balance to nail because there's sometimes where it can get overused, it can get too weird. To Alex's point, there's sometimes where it can get into an Uncanny Valley situation. Like there's so many things that you can fuck it up, and not to mention the biggest elephant in the room is that they use this game to really sell the fact that they started in Control, that all of their games are connected, like in some form or fashion. Everything is happening all at the same time, like in these universes, and it's one of the first times that I've ever seen that pulled off in video games. But in general, for all media, they end up nailing it. And I think it's so easy to fuck that up. I mean, look at Marvel. Like, dude, the Marvel burnout is real, but like, also people are just they're just like, man, it's exhausting for people to try to have to figure out where all of this is landing, in what way, and what implications it's going to have, and all that other stuff. So it's really hard to do well, right? And it's hard to do right. But like, and Preston, you saw the ending for it, and Alex, you'll get there. But it's fucking crazy how hard they nail it. Like, they stick that landing perfectly, in my opinion.
And the thing I appreciate, and I wish I had beaten this first to have a better conversation now, but it's fine. I'll have it beat before we do our Game of the Year, and we can have a more robust conversation then anyway. But I know this game would have been on my list had I beat it. But the thing that I love, since you brought up Marvel, is they own the timeline. Right? Yeah. Marvel, they're like, where do things fit? This happened here, and we ride ourselves in the loop. And this game, they're just like, minor spoilers to kick things off, and they go, holy shit, Alan Wake's been missing 13 years. So it's 13 years since the last game, and they're just like, that is the story. Right? Yep. Like, things that happened in Control happened in 2019. Like, things are time accurate to when the game was out. There's none of this, like, let's write around to make it fit the world. It's like, no, this happened then, and it still works.
And to your point, they don't shy away from those other elements, right? Like, the Federal Bureau of Control shows up within, like, there's at least a sign within the first 10 minutes of the game. And if you don't know who they are, the game's like, too bad. Like, you'll figure it out or you won't, but it's here. Like, so it's part of the universe. Like, like I said, it's so impressive, and I love it. Yeah. Cool. So then back to you, Alex, for number 2.
Yeah, number 2. So, okay. This list was tough. 1 and 2 were the toughest for me, and I will not be taking argument now, and I will not debate this now because it is our personal. With that being said, I could easily be swayed. Like, these top 2 things could go either way. Number 2 for me is Hi-Fi Rush.
Same.
Okay, thank God. So anyway, number 2 for me was Hi-Fi Rush. We can talk more about it next week. I don't know how to sing its praises more than we already have, other than the fact that, like, it is absolute robbery that it did not get the credit it deserved at the Game Awards. Like, and I think it fell victim to being the very first game that released last year. Like, hands down, Shadow dropped week 1 of, like, January. If it would have dropped in midsummer or even this fall, it would have absolutely been in the conversation, and it's criminal that it wasn't. Incredible game. It's my number 2.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to is, so similar to Alan Wake 2, how I said there's so many things that can go wrong, and it's incredible that they nailed it. Hi-Fi Rush is an example of that. There is so many a rhythm character action game is a phrase that if you would have told me beforehand, I would have said, no, thank you. I don't want that. And they were like, but you do, and here's why. And then they show it to you, and it's great. And it also has one of the other third in my top 3 moments of the year, which is at the end where there's that cutscene where Cinnamon is like, his legs are all blown off or whatever. And it's just so perfect acting from Chai, where he's like,
You're gonna be
Cinnamon,
fine.
you're gonna fine. Then he turns around and he's like, he's a goner. Like, and it was like, it's so funny. And like, but that moment encapsulates everything about what's so good about that game. It is so charming from second one till the very end, and it never lets go. Like, it shows its hand very early. Like, hey, here's the bits, right? Here's the bits that we're working on. Here's what we like or think is going to charm you. Here's the funny parts, and here's the musical parts, and then the gameplay is obviously what the gameplay is, and here you go. This is what we have. So I hope you enjoy the ride. And it doesn't, you do. Like, you just come away from it and you're like, this is incredible. Like, I love it. There's nothing, I wouldn't change a single thing. And for most of the year, it was my number 1 until a specific game came out.
The only thing I say about the game when people ask, like, when I talk about it, is like, you cannot play that game and not smile. Period.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
It's fun.
Yep.
If you don't feel joy when you play Hi-Fi
There's
Rush, you
something
need to
dead
see a
inside of you.
therapist. Yeah, you need to see a therapist. Yeah.
Preston, what you got for 2?
Baldur's Gate 3. So I loved playing with you guys, but it didn't solidify where it was going to be at my list until I started playing it myself. And I've been playing it like religiously, like every night for like the past month.
I've seen you on.
I've been doing it. I've been putting in the time. I've been loving this every little piece of this game. We've talked about God knows how much, but it's again, like I said with Final Fantasy 16. The writing, the acting, and the motion capture they used for all of this, for every little fucking character that you talk to. There's so many characters, and I'm only in Act 1. I'm almost about to finish that. There's 2 more full acts, giant acts probably, that I'm going to go through. They're going to have just that same amount of love for every story, different character, different personalities for those characters. I cannot wait. This is like, outside of my number 1 game, this is like everything that I want out of a video game, right?
Yeah.
So like everything that I could have possibly wanted out of Starfield, I got out of Baldur's Gate 3. Like, Starfield just shoved, I just fucking yeeted that shit into a black hole and just never thought about that shit ever again. As soon as I started playing Baldur's Gate 3, I'm like, I'll never have to touch Starfield. I never want to touch Starfield. If I ever want to touch Starfield, I'll just go ahead and I'll play Baldur's Gate 3. Because even though it's not sci-fi, it is doing things 1,000 times better on every fucking front.
Yeah.
And it's letting me do everything I want to do. Anything you want to do, you can probably do it in that game because it gives you the option to do it, and that is part of the game and story. That's phenomenal. It's great. That's my number 2.
Let's continue this conversation because it's the only game I have not mentioned. My number 1 is Baldur's Gate 3. Everything you guys have said about it is absolutely right. All the accolades I think are got at the Game Awards is deserved.
Yes.
And the thing, it has amazing replayability. Like, I did that whole game with like the same companions unless I had to swap out, just because I fell in love with these companions. And I was like, hey, they fit my needs for how I want to get through things and my gameplay. But if I wanted to go back, I could do Dark Urge. I could do a normal and just play with 4 other companions out of like the 15 and still have a different experience. But the biggest thing I can say about this game, until we actually kind of
You can play as one of the companions.
Yeah, you can. You can even play as one of the companions
Just
if
do
you
a
want,
story.
right? I do agree, Christian, with your comments about the side quests being better than the overall. Like, I haven't played other Larian games. This is my first. So I liked the main story, but with that being said, there's some things that happen where people have also said, like, oh, something similar happened in previous Larian games, like Divinity and stuff like that. Like, I knew to expect this, that, and the other.
To be clear, that's not I'm just judging it off of just main narratives in video games, period. I also
Sure.
feel that way about other Larian games. The main narrative is always, and I not even just, I think in most Western RPGs or CRPGs in general, the main narrative is always the weakest.
Yeah, and and you're right. Like, there are things you do, and I'm not going to spoil because Preston, you're not there yet. But like, there's Shadow Heart's main quest is amazing, and then the Raphael part you talked about is amazing. But there are set pieces and not just like action like cutscenes that happen, but actual just like when you walk into the environment, like you go into Shar's temple, that and like the area of Moonlight Towers and the Underdark are some of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had in a game. But the big thing to me, and the reason it ended at number one, is because after all the time I spent in there, when I beat the game and my characters went off and did their thing, and the ending happened, and this is what happens with you and your chosen companion and so on, I literally felt a sense of loss. For like a day and a half, I felt like I have lost a friend. Because like I had beat the game, like all these companions I spent so much time together with that they actually gave like a life to, right? Like they weren't bland side characters. Like you wanted to live out their story. Like I felt lost. And I even told you guys leading up to it, I'd put it down for a little bit because like I was scared to get to the end because I didn't want it to be over because the ride was so good. So as charming as Hi-Fi Rush was, and
you were also worried it was going to explode your PC, but that's
true, and it did not. But I went back and forth, and honestly, like if you were to be like gun to head, you have to flip flop the order. I would flip flop the order. Both of these games, in my opinion, are number one of the year.
Yeah.
Sure. But yeah, BG3 for me that's it. That was it.
All right, my number one. I think that it's easy to sometimes forget. First of all, I will start this by saying this is my number one because it came out this year in America. So we live in America, and that's what I'm basing it off of. I don't give a shit that it came out in Japan last year because I didn't play it then.
When you said BG3 earlier, I had a feeling Hi-Fi Rush was going to be here, but I knew this game was 1 or 2, and as soon as you just said Hi-Fi Rush was 2, I was like, well, there you go.
Yeah. Should be no surprise to anybody by the way that I've talked about this, and I will have more to say on it, but The Legend of Heroes Trails to Azure is my number one. It is not only one of the best games that I've ever played, like point blank period. It absolutely does crack my top 10 all time. It is easily, if nostalgia was not a factor, it would beat Final Fantasy IX as my favorite JRPG of all time. Nostalgia-wise, I don't know. I'd have to really do some inner searching and self-evaluation to see how I feel about it and myself. But if I was just being like, if I'm taking two games and I was playing them, it would almost assuredly be this game. Every single character interaction, in a series that is known for this, it is head and shoulders above every other single one that I've played. The story is so good. The twists in this story, in a series that is known for twists that I don't see coming or that most people don't see coming, this game is legitimately surprising from second one all the way to the end. It has its foot on the gas pedal the entire time, and it's mind-blowing. It is quality all the way through and through, and I love it. I love every single bit of it, and for those who don't know, the Trails series is broken into chunks. So Trails in the Sky 1 through 3 is a game, Trails to Zero and Azure is a double set, and then all 4 Cold Steel games, and then capping off with Reverie, sort of wrapping up all 3 of those. And I don't know how to, like, the 1-2 combo of Zero and Azure is probably unbeatable, but even Azure by itself and that's how I took it. That's what I'm putting it as right here, is like it explains everything that happens in the first game in a well enough way that you'd be able to figure it out, but there's no matter what, you become just enamored with every single one of these characters, and there's not a character that I don't love, and then the villains, there's not a character that I don't hate. Like, it is so well done. Like they don't do any of the classic tropes that you think they are going to do when it comes to JRPGs and storytelling. Like, there's no Kuja or what's his name in 10, Alex, the blue-haired psychopath.
Seymour.
There's no Kuja or Seymour equivalent where it's just like laughably evil for evil's sake, and then you're like, what's your motivation? It's like, because fuck you, and you're like, okay. Like, it's like everything is done in this like morally gray way, and it's written so well that there's like every single motivation you understand and but you disagree with because you've come to love the characters that you're fighting with, and you're like, but I get it. Like, and even the characters acknowledge, they're like, I get it. Like, I understand what you're doing, but like, I have to stop you because of X, Y, or Z. It is one of the most perfectly written games that I've ever played, not let alone music and art and just everything. Like, it is probably one of my favorite games of all time, and it is the best game that I played this year.
All right.
Okay.
Dig it. Preston, what you got? What's capping you off?
Hi-Fi Rush. I've been saying it all year. This is my game of the year, and it has not stopped because this is the best game that has come out this year. Like, it's just style and everything. The music choices were specifically for Preston. We all know this. No one out of maybe the dozen people who were listening to this band in the 90s, no one listened to Zwan, okay? No one listened to this weird spin-off Smashing Pumpkins fucking Billy Corgan joint. No one listened to it. I did. I like Paz LeChant, all right? I like Billy
That
Corgan.
tracks.
It's a good band, but I get it. It's not for everybody. But the fact that they put one of those as one of the songs in there, I'm like, this game was made for me. It, like you said, it makes you smile all the way through. It exudes positivity. I love every fucking second of this game. It didn't overstay its welcome, and it wasn't too short. It was everything it needed to be, and if I want more out of it, there's all sorts of special side sections I could get with all the special power-ups that we had. I can just go back to it and do that if I want to, and one of these days I will. It deserves it.
And,
You know, it was-
not to mention, we would be doing it a disservice. We didn't mention this was a fucking Game Pass game, by the way.
Yep.
Like, this
A
was a game
shadow
you
From,
did not-
from
Shadow
a company from a company known for horror games.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, whose last game was Evil Within 2.
Yeah.
The thing that offends me the most about the Game Awards, like, say, oh, it wasn't nominated for Game of the Year, whatever. I know that, like, AAA games usually are, but nobody was nominated from this game for voice acting, and it was the most believable voice acting I've ever heard. And Christian, to your point, I mean, as soon as you said it, like, moments of the year, like, my mind went right to that part where he literally looks like, oh, you're gonna be fine. It's not gonna be fine. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
laughed out loud when
Yep,
that happened.
same.
I was like, oh my gosh, the writing is so good, but it's also natural. There's not a bad voice acted piece in that game.
Every boss battle is almost like game of the year moment, like moment for the game of the year for me. It's like just
Yeah.
that first one. When you go into there, you're going after the first boss, you kind of get the idea of what you're going to be doing for the rest of the game. And then all of a sudden it's the Coliseum type of thing. Waist up, big giant monster you're fighting, right? Big robot. And then Nine Inch Nails slowly says bum 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 bum. And it's Perfect Drug, which is my favorite Nine Inch Nails song of all time. And I'm like, fucking go, let's go. And I'm like, I'm gonna be beating this guy to the beat of this song. Best moment of the year, hands down, period for me. Loved every
Also,
second.
we're not streamers, right? So we do, like, it's not a thing that we would ever have to run into. But say, Preston, on the streams that you do that you would want to play Hi-Fi Rush, they have a streamer mode whose soundtrack rivals the soundtrack that
It's
is
the one
on
they
there.
made themselves
Right,
to
but
replace
that's
all the
fucking-
licensed music, and it's phenomenal music.
That's crazy to even say that there are people on this that there's an argument to be made that the composed soundtrack is better than the licensed soundtrack that you got.
If you don't like
in
that
a
music, the
rhythm game.
90s kind of music, like, you can just remove all those. It's fine. You
And
like
it's
Black
still
Keys?
good.
Get rid of it. We got
Yeah.
our own home-baked stuff.
Like,
We got
think
music at home.
about this. Like, if Guitar Hero was like, oh, by the way, here's a royalty-free version of things, you would go and you like, this is ass. Like, this is not. But
It's very good.
they make it work in this. It's incredible.
Great game.
Every day I'm still shocked that we were blessed with that game.
Yep.
Seriously. Because we
Yeah,
don't
heavens.
deserve it, especially this year.
And it's impressive. I mean, like, I can't think of another time when your game of the year or the top 3 of our list would be the first game that came out in the year,
Yep.
right? Like, that's a hard thing to
I
do.
would not let this one die.
Especially-
I would not let time take this one down.
Especially in a year like this, where there's
Yep.
been so many games
Yep.
that release. It's incredible. So,
Yep.
anyway, we have more coming with our collective, like the definitive testing rooms top 10, along with the testies, the awards for different categories of gaming this year. We have some fun stuff coming up that will be coming at you soon. Gentlemen, anything else to say to cap off tonight?
No, I don't think. I mean, hey, like what we said before, the games that came out this year were incredible. There were so many good games. It was a very shitty year and a shitty year for the industry.
Yeah.
We are over 10,000 layoffs now.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. In a year that we're talking about the amount of great games that it came out, it is insane that those same companies ended up wiping out half of their staff just because fuck you and profits and everything else. So, I don't know. But it's a lot of there's so many games that we didn't get to mention that deserve love. And, I'm sure they'll get some honorary mentions during the testies. But, man, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for hanging out with us this week. And I hope you had a great holiday, as we all had a great holiday. We'll be coming at you in the new year with the definitive top 10 of the previous year. And with that, Preston, you know what to do.
Hit it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Testing Room. To catch up on past episodes or check out the newest ones when they drop, follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your favorite podcasts. If watching is more your thing, check out youtube.com/thetestingroom or Twitch TV/testingroompod. To leave comments and ask questions, follow us on Instagram @testingroompod and email us at testingroompod@gmail.com. See you next time.